Friends, family, I've made it back from Las Vegas. I'm 100% more eclectic with the United States scenery than I used to be before. Sorry, my phone is going. I'm so excited to tell Dean about it. I've got Dean in the back room here with me, Dean the Dream Martin from Collecting Weekly. But today, we're going to talk a little bit about a new pickup that I just got. It's a bit of a grail for this guy, I'm not going to lie. We've got Shazam, one of the most third-party figures I've ever seen in my life. We got some Star Trek news. We got Star Wars. I want to talk a little bit about The Mandalorian, the most recent episode. Did it kind of redeem itself or not? I want to hear from Dean. I want to hear from you guys in the chat. But welcome back to another episode of Let's Get Nuts on the Ben Thomas Show. Let's get it going.
Let's get nuts.
I give you Ben Thomas.
Showdown.
Here we go.
Okay, let's get the man himself in the chat. Mr. Dean.
What up?
Good to see you, buddy. Dude,
How you doing, bud?
I'm disappointed I didn't see you in Dallas, Texas a week ago.
I know, dude.
It was like we were having a great time at the pool and in Vegas, and I want to show you guys some slides of my trip. I didn't add a lot, but I wanted to show you guys some of the highlights because I did take some of the chat recommendations for toy stores that I needed to see while I was there.
Yeah.
But dude, like I also ate so much food that I don't even feel like the same version of myself that left.
Yeah, that's the best part of traveling somewhere new.
Well, it normally would be for me, except that I can't eat gluten and I can't eat onion anymore. So I'm not going to lie, it's
I can't eat onion either.
a little hard. It's a little difficult. So, as I said at the beginning, we've got a pretty packed show sheet. It's just going to likely be Dean and I today. Sunday slot, I get so many different folks coming in. A few people may join in later. We'll see how she goes. But before we get to rolling, Dean, and I want to show you these slides real quick. Let's check in with the chat because we got a few folks already joining. We've got Tyria. Welcome. I heard you had an awesome time in England. I'm glad you also made it back from your trip safely as well. We've got Danny Lee in the chat. First, what's up, Ben and panel? Good to see you, buddy. We've got Mugwump. I love that chat name, or username. That's awesome. Evening all. Good to see that this is a good slot for people, honestly. Like, evening for them, afternoon for us. Dean, now you know that it's not a 2 o'clock start, so you can join a little more often.
Yeah.
We got Eddie Rodriguez in the chat.
Time zones just confused the fuck out of me.
Well, and every time I'm like, yeah, it's 3 p.m. Mountain Standard Time, people are like, when is that? What planet do you live on? Eddie Rodriguez, good afternoon, guys. Good to see you, buddy. Thanks for joining in. We got Thalia Meyer in the chat. Hello, everyone out there. What's up? We've got Mr. Alvin J. What's up, everybody? I don't know if you know this, Dean. Mr. Alvin J. was my very first super chatter of all time, so he will go down in the books for the Ben Thomas Show here for sure.
He's a great guy.
100%. Toy Cartel, I'm off today and making live on time. Yes, he's mentioned me or talked to me a couple times after the show being like, if you could just bump it a little bit later, sometimes I could join. So happy to have you here, buddy. Definitely, for sure. We got King Dingaling in the chat. Now, I've been told a live stream is not a live stream unless you've got King Dingaling in the chat. So
He's pretty much a staple.
I feel like I'm making a name out there. You guys make me feel good.
A few people that if you don't see are like, huh.
That's fair. That's fair.
Alvin J, King Dingaling, Toy Mafia. I mean, we have our regulars.
The crew. The regular crew.
Yeah.
For sure. And speaking of Alvin J, he's already given me a $4.99 super chat. Thank you. He says, gotta run, gotta catch the replay. Have a great show. Thanks for joining in. And again, always thanks for the generosity there, buddy. I gotta give you something here. Well, let's do very decent.
Nice.
I'm glad you get that one because I played that last week and
Nobody?
I think it was Shane. I think Shane from Figure Focus was like, "What was that?" And I'm like, "It's Bubbles from Trailer Park Boys." Like, what?
You don't know about Julian and the boys.
That's right. So I don't know
about McKitty's and the beer.
Oh man, I love your impressions. I feel like you need like a Dean's impression just segment in one of your shows, you know? Like, I can't remember. I was in Vegas the other night. It was like 3 a.m. I couldn't sleep, so I pulled up just a random live stream, and I must have started it at some other point because you popped up, and the very first thing I heard in my earbuds 3 a.m. was you doing the Jabba tongue. Just like, I was like, what did I just join?
Yeah.
Dean live and raw.
Yeah, I did that on Will's stream and everybody loved it. So
That's amazing.
I think it was Carlos jumped in the chat and I think he paid $5. He was like, let's see the Jabba. And I was like, all right, I got you.
Dude, when you're off the internet for a week, you miss a lot of shows and shit. Like, there was so many shows that I had to get caught up on. And of course, I was away during, like, you know, Vader dropping and C-3PO dropping and some of those. And, like, I missed the show with you guys on, like, the live show on Tuesday night on the CW main show. So I was so bummed because I caught it after the fact. But it's never the same, you know? It's like I want to be able to, like, tag in and say shit.
Dude, yeah, that's the worst part is because you're like, oh, man, I could have made this great point.
Yeah.
And it's like, it's not like listening to, like, Joe Rogan or something where it's like, I don't know that guy. It's like I'm literally on this show every week and I can't chime in right now. It's like a different level of frustrating.
No doubt. We got Ryan Smith in the chat. Hey guys, hey, how's it going, buddy? Thanks for joining in. Tyria says, London was great, Ben. Word on the street is you might go to Japan in 2025. Would love to meet you. Yeah, so I put that in Leal's chat today because I watched Corner while I ate my breakfast. And I mentioned to Shauna, hey, this Star Wars celebration, we've got 2 years to think about it, and they're going to be in Japan. Would that float your boat? And she was like, actually, yeah. She's like, I've always wanted to go that way. So we are looking at potentially booking a trip, which would be cool.
That'd be probably pretty, well, no, I guess that wouldn't be very cheap for you, would it?
It would not be cheap it's not cheap for me to go anywhere from Canada though. So like I can't really,
because even here, because I'd have to fly from here to California, and then from California, usually I think you go to Hawaii, then Australia, and then Japan. It's like $2,500 or something.
Damn. That's crazy. I feel like for me, I'm a little bit more worried about just like the language barrier. Obviously, like going to somewhere like England, and it's safe for English-speaking folks. Like, but like obviously, there's a lot of English-speaking folks in Japan, obviously. But like, I think for me, I would equate it to like when I went to Montreal, Canada, or Quebec, Canada. You know, there, at least for Canadians, for whatever reason, Quebec isn't always like the most friendly to non-English speaking people. They're like, if you don't speak French, you shouldn't come here. And so, yeah, like I went into a bagel restaurant in Montreal, and
what?
A bagel. It's like a gourmet bagel. How do you say bagel?
Bagel. You said, I don't know how you said that.
A bagel?
A bagel? You didn't even speak in English at that point.
Oh my god. Maybe that's why the guy wouldn't serve me. Because I was like, can I have a bagel? And he was like, he said something in French. And I was like, you know, like a gourmet bagel. Wouldn't serve me. Yeah.
Yeah.
Didn't know how to ask for it, so.
I mean, there are definitely places in Japan that they don't like foreigners, and they do not have a problem letting you fucking know it.
For sure. I feel like that's just anywhere in the world, right? So.
I mean, yeah. I mean, you'd be hard pressed to not get served somewhere here unless you're being blatantly offensive. But I mean, there it's just like get the fuck out of our restaurant. Like,
it was interesting because when we were in Vegas, Shauna kept kind of commenting like, oh, the serving staff doesn't seem like they like us. And I was like, no, they're just not like going above and beyond to be like, hey, how's your day going, everybody? It would be like...
In Vegas?
In Vegas, the serving staff.
That's shocking.
Right, that's kind of what I thought, but they were like, yeah, they were just like, hey, like, what can I get for you? And like they were pleasant, but they weren't like overly like cuddly. I don't know, like I think we're just so used to like cuddly service here.
Yeah, I feel like, I mean, as a place, especially for a place that caters to almost exclusively tourism.
Yeah,
that's weird to hear.
And that was something that I want to get into actually here in a couple minutes, because that was something that was a big surprise for me. When I think of like Sin City, Las Vegas, I expected it to be a lot more like Sin City-esque, like like some crazy shit, stuff that, like, when they say like what happens in Vegas stays in Vegas. I expected to see a lot more of that, and honestly I saw a lot more just like tourism and families and a lot of kids. I was like, that we were navigating through some of the streets at times at nighttime, and they of course got the the ladies of the night out there with their feathery caps and everything on, and like little kids walking past these bums just sticking out. And honestly, I said to Sean, I was like, it's not even the bums that I'd be worried about with kids. It would be like losing them in the crowd. Because as you start to progressively move through the shuffle of the streets, it is like just so busy. I'd be worried I'd lose my 10-year-old in the crowd and never see it again. So, but Dean, before we get into Vegas, I want to tell you that yesterday, and I think I shared it with you briefly, I picked up The Punisher. Definitely not Jeremy Benthal. Definitely John Bernthal. I'm never going to live that down, It's a deep cut. So for those of you guys who don't know, on LWO a few weeks ago, I think it was on Marco's show at the time, I joined and I was drinking and I'd smoked a little Canadian green and I was just having a good time. And I was talking about my affection for the Punisher and I called him Jeremy Benthal. I know that is not his name, but I got it wrong.
He knows it now.
It's the way she goes. I know it now. And I couldn't justifiably buy this figure without knowing the guy's name. However, for those of you interested, I have put a full spoiler review of my thoughts on this figure. I don't know if it's really a spoiler, but it's a figure review on this guy on the Ben Thomas Show. So if you've missed it, check it out. It's a cool figure. It ages very well. 2017, this guy came out. And honestly, dude, like, I'm pretty impressed. Like, especially up close, some of the stubbling and stuff that he has, and there's like the fade in his hairline, is fantastic.
What'd you think about the show?
So I'm going back to revisit it because I really loved the seasons of Daredevil and kind of his inclusion briefly in there, and then I remember watching the first season of The Punisher right away, and I got bored with it and stopped watching. And then I went back to it about a year later and crushed it and ended up really liking it. And then that's already now 3 or 4 years ago. So, like, I'm at that point now where I'm like, okay, I need to watch it again.
Are
2 years ago?
these on Disney Plus now? Or are they on?
They are on Disney Plus.
On
There's at least for Canadian Disney Plus, there's a section called Legacy. Legacy Marvel or whatever, and it's got even like the old like X-Men movies on there, and like the Netflix Punisher collection and Daredevil and all of those. I think there's the Defenders collection because it's got Luke Cage on there as well. I really liked Jessica Jones. Her first season I thought was pretty good.
I could not stand Jessica Jones.
No, you didn't like her, hey?
I didn't like Jessica Jones. I didn't like Daredevil. I didn't like what's the Mystic guy?
Iron Fist.
Iron Fist.
I didn't like Iron Fist.
I loved Luke Cage, and I really loved the Punisher. But I did enjoy the Defenders, which is weird because they're all in it. But yeah, the Punisher, even the weakest season, I think is pretty fucking strong. But yeah, this is a cool pickup for sure.
There was pretty poor representation in Iron Fist. I know that was a big issue, but I know like with the comics, it was still, I believe, a white character to begin with, and then they transitioned out of it. So I think that was interesting that they created such a spark. To be honest, I just didn't think the guy's acting was all that great, so it just didn't resonate with me.
Yeah,
for sure. But this is a badass figure, dude, and like the fact that he can hold his minigun and everything was pretty cool. You know a lot about guns, Dean, and I got no comments back on what do you call the bullet belt that's being fed into the machine into the minigun? Is it literally just called like a bullet belt, or like is there a special word for that?
There's probably an actual word for it, but yeah, like a belt, like a because that would be like a belt fed minigun.
Yeah, exactly.
So yeah,
something like that. Anyways, I didn't know if you would know the technical term. I said it on my review, and as I was saying it, I'm like, ooh, somebody's gonna be out there being like, Ben, that's not a bullet belt, that's like an X, and I'm like, I don't know. So this was pretty cool. Now, the other thing I wanted to share with you, Dean, is this bad boy. So, so Shauna and I, we smoked a little Vegas strip weed, and she wanted cake, like right away, of course. Like she gets the munchies really hardcore, and it was pretty late in the evening. I think it was about 8 o'clock, and we were on the Vegas Strip. And she was like, I want gluten-free cake, and there's only one place. That's in Caesar's Palace. Now, anybody who's ever been to Vegas knows Caesar's Palace is an absolutely massive building. So we're like touring through this place like quickly trying to find this gluten-free cake. And we walked past this store. It's called Califano, Kalifano, Califano. And they specialize in metal art, recycled metal artwork. And they had like full-size Predator statues and Iron Man statues like right in their lobby, like bigger than me. Like, and I'm 6 foot, just under 6'3". So like you can imagine, like some of these were just absolutely massive. Now those ones were going for like 22 grand American. So 30 grand Canadian, like easy, right? And
that's all profit, bro. That's recycled metal,
right? And I like peeked in the window and I'm like, oh, I want to check that out. But Shauna's like, okay, but like the cake place closes in 10 minutes. Like, can we go get cake and then we'll come back and check it out? Sure. So go down, have a nice like dessert date. And I'm like, okay, like let's go back upstairs. I want to check that place out. Get back up, the place is closed. So I'm like taking pictures through the window. I'm like, like fair enough. I probably can't really afford them anyways. Get to the airport 2 days later, get through security check, get through it all, and on the side where we're waiting, we got there like ridiculously early because of when we had to check out of our hotel. They had this store in the Vegas mall or airport after security. Nice. So when I shared this with you the other day and you were like, how the fuck did you get that on the plane? It's because it was past the security checkpoint, thankfully. But this guy is almost 6 scale in terms of his offering. It's very, very cool. The melted down screws, melted down nails. Like, it's a heavy boy.
Do you know what that is on his shoulder?
What it is on his shoulder?
The little turret. Do you know what that is?
I don't know. I honestly thought it was a light fuse of some sort, but
no, it's a spark plug for a car.
Oh, okay, cool.
Yeah. That's funny.
It's really cool, man. So we have another guest that has arrived in the back room. Let's get him on here, Mr. Austin Nicholas.
Hey guys, how's it going?
Good, man. Thanks for joining. You made it.
Yeah, you know what? I probably won't be able to stay
totally
super long, but I definitely wanted to come on and say hi to you, Ben. Hi to you, Dean. And just have a fun little chat for a bit.
For sure. Dude, I didn't even prepare for you because normally I'd have a whole bunch of good new, like, tell me about your YouTube channel questions already up and ready to go for you. But
well, I know I'm kind of just jumping on kind of last minute. I know I told you I wouldn't be able to make it, but
totally
here I am.
I like surprises. Honestly, for a bit there, I thought if Dean fell asleep, I'd end up talking to myself for an hour. So it's happened.
That's fair. I can't really knock you for that.
Right. A little nap now and then's okay.
That's right. So, yeah, so I was telling Dean, I don't know if you heard in the back room, Austin, about this cool recycled metal statue that I got from the Las Vegas airport, but super cool. I would definitely recommend it. Now, it was the cost of some 6-scale figures out there. Like, they clearly mark up the design on this a little bit, but I didn't come back with anything from Vegas. Like, Shauna came back with a whole bunch of shoes and sandals and stuff that says Vegas on it, and I wanted something a little different for the collection room. So this is what I ended up coming back with, but very, very cool. If you get a chance, check out that website. Just kind of an example of what his foot looks like as well. Like, very, very cool. So since you are here, Austin, for those of you guys who don't know out there in the chat, Austin just came back from England where he got a chance at Celebration to meet with a lot of other collectors and get some FaceTime with a lot of cool folks. I was jealous of that because, like, while I was having a great time in Vegas, I was seeing all the feed posts from guys like you and Calvin and Leal and like some of those guys out there. But welcome back. How was your trip to Celebration, good sir?
The trip was fantastic. Celebration. Yeah. So we were there for a week, 2 days for Celebration, and the rest, just kind of sightseeing and going around London. Celebration was fantastic. I had a blast. The best thing is, I plan to have said like hi to like Lael and Shane and Ben and some of the other people, and just but like a quick hi. Like, we didn't really have a lot of things set in stone, but it just seemed like everybody kicked it off. Mm-hmm. And then we all were together at Celebration, and then that night for dinner, and then the after party both nights. They're all great people. It was fantastic.
What I heard today, I shared with my fiance because while Shauna is extremely supportive of me YouTubing and all of the things, which has been pretty cool lately, she doesn't have the affection for 6 scale collecting that the rest of us clearly do.
Mm-hmm.
And I replayed the clip of you saying earlier that your girlfriend helps you do like unboxing videos. And I was like, that is an untapped market. There's not enough ladies out there who are involved with the community. Gigi over on 16fix obviously being kind of the one that comes to mind for me the quickest. But has your lady thought about jumping on with you on live streams at some point, or is she like being more on the backside?
Yeah. So she definitely likes being more in the back. Like a couple more like little shout outs for her too. So we just moved in together a couple months back now. And when I moved in, I had to like dismantle like the collection room at my old house and move it over here. I helped a little bit. She did the bulk of it, like these Star Wars panels. So she did that for me. And then
Crazy.
10 of these detofs, like we tinted the back of them. So, she helped me all throughout that. And then, we always have a date night. Anytime I get like a new figure in, we kind of make a date night out of it, the unboxing, take pictures. And it's great. The only thing that she so far has felt comfortable being in front of the camera on is for Shane. So like I don't want to say too much about like his idea, but it was essentially kind of get collectors' significant others
For sure.
on camera and have them discuss things. So that's the thing that she definitely wants to do.
That's something that I did with Marco and Gigi. It was actually the very first live stream I'd ever done. It was the whole purpose of me even getting a webcam and like a microphone and everything was so that I could join Marco and Gigi on 16fix for like a couples chat. And I was super green to streaming at the time. I was pretty nervous, but I was really excited about it. And it was Zach from Collecting Weekly that kind of ran me down in terms of what I needed for a microphone and camera and all the stuff. He's the Oxfather for a reason, obviously.
Yeah.
But there are great folks to get warmed up with as well. So I know Marco couldn't join us today. I'm sure he'll watch on the after chat. If you're watching Marco at some point, get an invite out to Austin and his lady as well, because it's cool seeing couples in the collecting hemisphere, right? So
Yeah, you know what? I find it a little odd how, because I get questions about it a lot, because I on my Instagram, or anytime which isn't often, but when I do a live stream, I talk about Rachel, and I always get like questions or comments saying, "Wow, I'm really surprised that your significant other actually lets you do this or gets involved with this," because it seems like some people don't unfortunately have that.
Absolutely. Well, you know what? Again, get her out there. If you get an opportunity, I think people would be interested in meeting her. I talk about Shauna as though everybody knows who she is, and I'm sure I have people who watch my after shows and they're like, who? But it's the way she goes. So let's move on. I wanted to show you guys a few slides quickly before we get into the collectibles, because we got a ton of entertainment news, a ton of collectible news that I want to get through, and I want to be respectful of everybody's time today. So Dean, this was the hotel that we stayed in. It was called the Hilton World's Resort in Vegas. It is a little far down the strip, but when I got to the hotel, I said very strategically that Shauna and I had just got engaged, which is not true at all. We got engaged like 2 years ago. So,
Well,
but
happy late engagement, man.
Thank you. I'm a terrible person because I lied immediately to the front desk staff, but they gave me an upgrade as a result. So we ended up on the 53rd floor in this hotel, which was a crazy view of like the Nevada mountains and stuff like that, which I didn't realize honestly was so close to the strip and everything, which is cool. Big Dog Pound, we've got a woo in the chat. Good to see you, buddy, here. Thanks for joining in. And we got Shiny here as well as Beskar Kid. And Big Ol' Fern says, no way you're 6'2", Ben. I don't know how to prove it to you, but I will one of these days.
You're 6'2", huh?
Yeah, that's fucking crazy. When you said that, I was like, God damn.
I'm a big guy, but they build us big in Canada. You remember the one time I had to stand beside this thing, Dean, and you were like, there's no way that's 2 feet by 2 feet. And then I went and stood over there.
Oh, that's true.
Cuervo commented on how big my ass was. I'm like, what can I say? What can I say?
I
Also,
am not standing next to you.
There you go.
Why does this hotel look like it's something out of like the First Order?
No doubt, actually, and it's brand spanking new. Which I will say, if anybody's interested in ever going to Vegas, especially if you've never been, it was nice, but it was so new that I feel like it lacked some of the character that some of the other hotels have there, like New York, or even Caesar's Palace that we went in for the cake and stuff. Like, just didn't feel like it had quite the same level of character, but it was still really nice. We were averaging, dude, like 15 to 20,000 steps per day, though, because the strip had some construction, and so the buses were taking longer to get places than walking. So I'm telling you, dude, like by the end of the strip, I was absolutely toast. This was one of my favorite places, though, the Hershey's milk chocolate store. I ate so much chocolate this week, dude. Like, and I kept eating it in the bed. And Shauna's like, "Why do you keep eating chocolate in the bed? You're raining fucking chocolate flakes all over the place."
Because I don't have to worry about ants.
When in Vegas, right? Like, what stays in Vegas, you know? So,
Well, I was just in Vegas like 2 months ago.
yeah.
Yeah. That was my first time.
What would you say was your favorite part, or did you have a favorite part?
Man, you know what? We did. I felt like we did so much, yet not enough. We actually lost an entire night because our flight got delayed, which kind of sucked too. Man, we had a really good first night out with the guys.
Awesome.
Very long, we got like a party bus. We did this whole thing, and that was fun. Not a whole lot can beat that night.
That's very
Then
cool.
I also actually Denobi picked me up from the condo I was staying in, so that was very sweet of him. So both of those experiences were great.
I forgot he was there. I should have hit him up to take me to some toy stores, because that was one thing that people told me was Brad's Toys on, I think it was Windmill Way in Vegas, apparently is fantastic, but it was a good 25 minutes off the strip. And I was like, we had already spent so much American cash already just on the strip that I was like, I'm having a hard time justifying like taking a cab or an Uber. So that might be like a future trip. But the roller coaster here behind the Statue of Liberty, Dean, I think it gave me whiplash. Shauna had never been on a roller coaster before, and people were like, don't let it, sway your judgment of roller coasters. By the way, Austin, she'd never been on a plane before. She'd never been to the States before. She'd never seen palm trees before. She'd never been on a roller coaster. Like, yeah, it was a lot of bucket list stuff in one 6-day trip. We went on this thing. Her mom was able to get us an all-day pass to the coaster, and we went twice. And I was like, it banged my head so badly in the chair that it was like, that was the roughest thing I've ever been on. But underneath, Dean, and you may be able to appreciate this, was a Shake Shack. Now I say this because somebody took me to an In-N-Out burger when I was in the States in Southern California. And this might be sacrilegious, but I hated it. I thought it was like one of the worst burgers I'd ever had. And people were like, you're crazy. In-N-Out burger is amazing. No. Shake Shack burgers were amazing. Holy crap.
So I actually have somewhat a similar. I like In-N-Out. So when I went to Vegas, I did eat In-N-Out a couple times because I don't have that here in Arkansas. I don't have In-N-Out, or I don't have Shake Shack. I like In-N-Out. Shake Shack is really damn good.
It was so
really
good.
damn good. I also tried White Castle for the first time when I was in Vegas.
I couldn't eat it because of the gluten, unfortunately, because like that was one that had been on the bucket list. I used to love those films back in the day when I was younger. So exactly. I was like, that's
was
pretty
not
cool.
Great. Ben, you're
not great.
Didn't miss anything, man.
That's good to know. We ate Shake Shack, I'm not kidding, 4 times.
Wow.
4 times. But Dean, tell me, where is your favorite burger place? Because I was like, if Dean was with us right now, I feel like he'd have a better option than even just this.
Yeah, I mean, there's a bunch of really good spots here. They're like mom and pop shops, I guess is like more of the way you put it. I do really like Shake Shack. I just think for the size of the burger, it's pretty expensive.
Fair enough.
Because at least In-N-Out, it's like $4 for a burger. It's like cheap as shit, but it's also like a cheap burger, you know?
100%.
But there's a place here called Chester's that's really good. La Tuna is my favorite burger, but that bitch is expensive. It's like $25 for a burger. But I mean, my go-to is Whataburger because I'm from Texas, so
For the record, everything felt really expensive to me because our Canadian conversion is the worst right now. It was it was a 40% difference in our dollar. So every dollar I spent, I'd like that 1.4%, like ridiculous. But I'm gonna be coming to OxCon in October. It's official. I've got the plane dollars ready to go. Like it is official. So stay tuned, everybody in the chat, for October OxCon 2.0, second year running, because maybe we should do a quick live stream of you taking me for a burger, Dean, because I would think that would...
Wait, so this may be a really new question. What is OxCon?
Hey, it's good. Dean, take it away.
So our podcast is Collecting Weekly, as most of you know, and our Facebook page is Collecting Weekly Auxiliary. So, like... that's just where everybody kind of meets up and talks and shares ideas or whatever. So we had a bunch of people fly into town. Sweet Danny Lee, Marco joined us. Poor Paul Schreiber. He tried to get here as hard as he could, and he couldn't. We just had people from listeners of the show fly in and hang out with us for a few days.
Oh, that's fantastic.
Yeah, it was amazing.
So it's some kind of like collector con.
Yeah, it's like Comic-Con, but for us. So OxCon, Auxiliary Con 2.0 will be this October.
I'm excited. I know Zach's gonna have like special, I think, stickers made for that point, and like he's got like a whole poster ready to go, and like it's gonna be pretty official. So
it's gonna be fun.
Now, this was a toy shack I did get a chance to make it to, and I can't remember the Fleming Street. No, I can't remember the heck is whatever is the other main strip street that people go to when they go to Vegas. Not the main strip, but I don't remember what it was called. But anyways, Toy Shack was one that I was able to get to. Now, we had to take a bus off the strip. For those of you who have never been to the Vegas Strip, maybe I'm the only one out there, but I didn't realize that like once the bus takes you slightly out of the strip, not only is it like pretty straight up desert, but it's actually like pretty ghetto, like in certain areas, and a little sketchy at times. And we're touring off the strip for this toy store, and I'm like, oh, like this is a bad idea. Like what have I got Shauna and I into now? And then we got to this street, and it had some of the coolest stuff. It had like this like glowing roof and everything, and very cool street. But Toy Shack it had one 6-scale collectible in it, which I was disappointed about because I had it. It was the 1.0 Bane, which I would have been pretty stoked about if I didn't already have the figure in my collection, but didn't have anything I wanted. But what was now open here as well was this prop replica store. So it had like the Jurassic Park Jeep out front, but in the store itself it had like a museum dedicated to movie prop replicas, as well as a whole storefront. So it was very cool. But I just wanted to say thank you to all the folks who gave me some recommendations of toy stores to go to. I only got a chance to make it to Toy Shack, but it was still pretty cool. I had a fun time there. So boys, I want to switch gears a little bit because this resonated with me while I was in Vegas, and I saw it pop up because for those of you who don't know, Austin especially here, Dean and I like playing Elden Ring together. Now, I've only played 75 hours with Dean, it says, based on the record, which I thought was a lot for a friendship.
Only 75 hours.
I thought it was a lot. I
feel like we
for a
played a
friendship.
lot longer.
It was not enough. Dean has put in probably 1,000 hours into Elden Ring.
Yeah, I think I'm probably closer to like 7 or 8. But yeah.
You would say, you 8,000 hours? Is that what you're starting to say? Or
you know
hours?
what? I probably am at 1,000 hours because I switched consoles.
Yeah, because you had played it. Yeah, that's crazy. So I know for Dean, this is one of his favorite games of all time, if not maybe even achieving
it's number 2 for sure.
Number 2? What is number 1 for you anyways?
The original Final Fantasy VII.
Oh, okay. Well, that's fair. That's fair. But this came up. It says Elden Ring creator Hideka, and I don't want to try and say his last name.
Hidetaka Miyazaki.
Thank you so much. Has been named one of the Times Magazine's 100 most influential people of 2023, making him only the second video game developer to make the annual list, following. I can't say that person's name, unfortunately.
Shigeru Miyamoto.
Thank you so much. So I thought that this was very exciting because for folks who have played Souls-style games in the past, this might have been a game that you initially feel a little bit nervous to try. I had a hard time with the Dark Souls video games, and I did play Bloodborne and loved Bloodborne, and then when Dean told me a little bit about this game, I loved the concept of the open world and the beauty of the game and everything. What I didn't expect was the depth of this game and how much time you could put into it. Dude, I mean, again, we spent 75 hours playing this game together, and I feel like I barely scratched the surface even for what there is to see, which is crazy.
I found something new today I have never seen before.
It was insane.
I was like, oh, there's an area that's on the map. It looks like I could like finagle my way up there. And so I went. There was nothing there, but it was like a part of the map with like items that, you know, to me were useless, but I've already platinumed the game, so everything's pretty much useless at that point. But I was like, holy shit, I've never been over here before. It's
Crazy.
wild the amount of stuff I'm still finding.
Yeah. So as I said, I wanted to put it on the show sheet today to have a really brief chat about it because good for this guy. Honestly, he created a game that was amazing. It's almost unfortunate that it came out around the same time as God of War Ragnarok because I think Ragnarok got a lot of attention and hype. Tons, right? And whereas this game, I think, is going to be one of those games that people play forever. And I think that have they already released the DLC or have they just announced the DLC?
They just announced it.
Okay.
Yeah, it's coming out hopefully soon.
For sure.
Maybe by August, maybe October. If it's in October, Oxcon is in trouble.
I will say that Dean kept me alive for a big portion of that 75 hours. So if anybody ever wants to get into this game a little bit and try it, maybe poke him, see if he's available. We played it on the PS5 together, but part of that game, part of the fun of that game is kind of helping each other and other players, right?
Oh
Which is
yeah,
kinda cool,
it's co-op makes the game a lot more fun because I mean playing it with people is challenging. Playing it alone is like a nightmare. But there's a lot of like different stuff you can use to make the game more balanced, like spirit ashes and summons and, you know, stuff like that. So
100%.
yeah, this game is brilliant. The fact that it was open world, I think, brought a lot of new players into the genre. Because I know for me, it was like, oh, it's a Souls game, I'm out. Like I already checked out. Like those games are super difficult for the sake of being difficult. And then this came out, it had a lot easier multiplayer. It's very difficult in the other games. Open world, you adventure. It just, yeah, it was my first Souls game, and I have since gone back and played the other ones, and it's like my favorite genre now. So
Dean, don't be disappointed in me. I've never played this.
oh dude, I can't blame you. Like I said, like I was checked out of Souls games. Like I was just like, I'm not about it.
Austin, you just started a YouTube channel, buddy. You're not going to have enough time in the day any longer.
Yeah.
It takes a serious investment.
Yeah, but yeah, this game is just brilliant. So I was super happy. Got Game of the Year. It's actually the most award-winning game of all time now. And to see him get, you know, one of the most influential people of 2023 is pretty cool. So
100%.
Shout out Miyazaki.
I had to interrupt you there, quick, Dean. We've got Pete from Only Fools and Collecting on the Collecting Weekly YouTube channel.
What's up, Pete?
Our long-running British correspondent here now, who has been on every Let's Get Nuts episode since its inception. So, Mr. Pete, good to see you, buddy. Thanks for making it in. Appreciate it.
No worries. Pleasure to see you all here.
When I fired you off the invite, I wasn't even 100% sure you were back from like your trip. But then I was like, wait a second, he lives in the UK, so he should be back by now.
Yeah. I was only about an hour and a half away from Excel, so
That's awesome. That's awesome.
Yeah.
Shiny says here, I'm looking forward to Starfield, so as long as Bethesda doesn't do a Bethesda and Bethesda it up.
Bethesda,
thank you.
Right over my head.
I have zero hope for Starfield because Bethesda has been using legitimately the same exact game code since Skyrim. Like every one of their games has the same bugs in it because they refuse to update their fucking code. It's insane. All their what are those games called? The Fallout games, the Skyrim games. which they've released like 8 different fucking times, and they're still plagued with the same garbage.
I really did like Elder Scrolls, though. Like
I loved
that
Oblivion.
game.
Skyrim is a great game. I mean, you can't release it 8 times and it not be a great game, right? People buy it no matter what. Like,
Dean,
there's no argument here. Yeah,
There
there's
you go.
no argument that it's a good game, but it's like when you boil down like the problems Bethesda has, it's kind of lazy. So I want Starfield to be really good because it looks fantastic, and I have a PC that can actually run it now. So I really want it to be good, but I'm gonna wait like a solid 6 months after it's released to get it.
Fair. Pete, are you much of a gamer?
I used to be, and then I had a kid, so yeah,
That's fair.
No, we game together. That's the thing. That's difference now. So I used to play when I was single. I used to play game loads and loads, PS3, PS4. Well, even way back before that. But yeah, I still like to dabble with games, but I just don't really have the time. And I think by the time I've kind of got a bit of time to myself, it's quite late at night, and I just can't be bothered, and I'd just rather sit and watch TV. So I do miss it, but I think that I don't have the sort of time to commit to them anymore. But
That's fair.
yeah, we played a lot of games with my son, so that's been good.
It is a ton of time commitment. Even like with Dean, he's like, "Hey, like, how come you never play Elden Ring with me anymore?" I'm like, "Dude, I've been so busy with work. It's so hard to find the time to just sit down and lock in for, and like you can't just play it for 30 minutes. It's not a game you can just pick. Like you get nothing done. I'd find a few Erd flowers, and it's like, okay, call it a day,
Yeah.
So. Andre here says, "Oh hell yeah, Pete the Jewel in Collecting Weekly Crown. You love to see it. Oblivion had a lot of character. I preferred it too." Perfect. So, sticking with the game route, I'm curious what your guys' thoughts are on this newest film that's come out. So, the reason I wanted to bring it up was I've been hearing from the community and people who have seen this film that it's awesome. That people are like actually like really, really enjoying it. And when taking a look at, Rotten Tomato score, like not that I go by Rotten Tomato all that often, but I thought it was interesting to see that the critic rating at 90% and the audience score at 93%, meaning like they're like really in line together, which doesn't happen all the time. I mean, you often see that audience rating being significantly better.
Yeah,
than the
it's
critic
usually
rating.
the exact opposite.
Yeah. And for something like Dungeons and Dragons, like it's never been a game that I was able to get into for a very similar reason. I'm a collecting nut, right? So like I was always like, ooh, that's a slippery slope. If I start collecting D&D stuff, it's going to be something it's too slippery. So I stayed away from it. But I've watched the Collecting Weekly channel, your like live stream of your D&D campaigns that you do, Dean, which is pretty fun to watch. Honestly, it doesn't get enough viewers because it's interesting.
It's really funny because some of our best shows in terms of like the numbers are D&D streams. Nobody watches it live, but a lot of people will go back and watch it.
Watch it after.
It's crazy, yeah.
Well, and so that was kind of the question that I had for all three of you guys. And Pete, I'll start with you. This movie has not done very well at the box office. Was D&D something that you felt like you were excited about when you saw this film coming? Because again, the last film didn't do very well, but this one's getting critically reviewed pretty well. Is this something you plan to see, or have you seen it already?
No, I
What are
have
your
seen
thoughts
it.
on
Yeah, I saw it the first weekend
did?
it came out. Yeah.
Awesome.
I took my son, and he loved it. It's goofy. It's funny. It looks good. You get a little cameo from the 80s cartoon gang in the arena scene.
Nice.
Chris Pine is very entertaining. Yeah, I thought it was really good. I can't wait to watch it again, to be honest.
So that's what I keep hearing, and like to me, it makes me wonder if this will be one of those films that ends up ultimately being like cult classic-y in the sense of like not a lot of people see it first weekend unless you're a D&D fan, but the word of mouth will start making people like tune in, especially once it's available through streaming services. Austin, were you ever a Dungeons and Dragons fan?
No.
And have you seen the movie?
No, never. I don't know a whole lot about it, but I did go see the movie.
You did? Oh, interesting.
Yeah.
Okay.
So my one of my buddies, he's a big D&D fan, and in any chance to go to movies with him, I'm a movie buff anyway, so I'm all in. So yeah, I did watch it, and I may be in the minority on this one. I didn't love it.
Okay, no,
I
that's
think
fine.
I think a lot of it kind of went over my head. I didn't have like any attachment to anything in this, but I say that to say though that the acting still was fantastic. Like I can't knock the acting, and the CGI was really good in this. Nothing took me out of the movie. The colors were saturated extremely well. Visually, it was great. The only thing is, at the end of the day, I couldn't even tell you their names. It was just very forgettable that way for me.
Interesting. And I know you're a big movie buff. That's a big part of the reason you've even got into collecting 6 scale, right? And
Yes, sir.
so that's interesting to hear because I'm in the same boat. I never played the game. So I wanted to go see this film after especially hearing how good it was. But then I was worried that as somebody who doesn't know the franchise all that well, like was I going to get it? Like was I going to obviously there'd be references that would just go over your head, but like overall was it still going to be an enjoyable experience? And I think you're actually one of the first that said not necessarily for you. Whereas like Dean, since you've seen this film also, so I'm the one person here that hasn't seen it. But I do watch some of your D&D streams and stuff. So assuming that I understand some of the references, like what were your thoughts on this film? Do you think people should go actually out and see this film or wait for it to hit
Wait,
streaming
Dean,
services?
Dean, I'm so sorry. I just want to clarify though. I did not hate the movie.
100%.
I just didn't love it as much as the audience or critic score shows.
That's fair.
It was still a fun popcorn flick for me.
Yeah, I think there are definitely references that even I miss, but it's usually just like names, like Neverwinter is in the game and in the movie. But I don't feel like even if you knew nothing about Dungeons and Dragons, I really don't feel like that takes away from the movie all that much, because most D&D fans are like, have their own campaigns and their own characters, and I play a paladin, but there's maybe there's a paladin in this movie. I don't know. Maybe the dude right there with the beard and the sword. Maybe is he a paladin, Pete? I don't remember.
I'm not sure. He's only in it a little bit, isn't he? But
It's like okay.
He's the eye candy because he's the guy from Bridgerton, isn't he, on Netflix? That everyone fell in love.
So it's
with.
like, there's
I
a
thought he looked
mage,
familiar.
a shapeshifter, and a witch. Like that's kind of, it's very surface level. Like if you really wanted to get into like if you know anything about D&D, it really is a popcorn flick, like Austin said.
Yeah, I agree, and I think, but I also heard that people said that it's very authentic to the original game, like the spells in it and the way it. So there is, it's good fan service to the
like
game as well.
The gelatinous cube, I love seeing that. That was awesome.
Displace the beast.
But again, you don't have to know that stuff to enjoy it.
No,
Cool.
No.
Because it's high fantasy. It's like Pegasuses and shit. Like,
yeah, I mean, I not to spoil it for you, Ben, but I thought the scene with where they were trying to get into the treasure hold with the hither thither was brilliant.
Yeah, it's just a really fun movie. I would go see it again. I thought it was fantastic. I am kind of right there with Austin though. I could not name a single one of these characters.
That's interesting.
When you said that, I was like, I can't think.
That was just the biggest negative thing about. I can't really tell you any more negatives about the movie. Just for me, I just I felt really nothing for the characters at the end of the day, and I just don't know their names.
Yeah.
There's like, it's nice because there's like really funny moments, lighthearted moments, and there's like really heavy moments revolving around the main character, Chris Pine's character.
I love Chris Pine. He's hilarious, dude.
What's the guy on the far right? What's his name?
Hugh Grant.
Hugh Grant plays
He's a legend.
an amazing character.
Yeah.
I mean, I saw it coming. Well, I guess it's in the trailer, so it's not really a spoiler, but I won't say much more than that. But he was like the perfect casting for that character.
Yeah.
Michelle Rodriguez, what a badass. But she's not so badass that she's unlikable, because they have moments with her that are very lighthearted and funny.
Nice.
and it's like, oh, like you kind of you feel really bad for her, but in a funny way. It's just it was a fun movie where like I feel like nobody's gonna get heated over it. No one's gonna, people like to complain about a lot of shit now. Coming from me every week with Star Wars, this was a movie I could just enjoy where I don't have to overthink it. So
Cool. I think this is an interesting comment from Mugwump. He says, I'm with you, Austin. The movie was somewhat fun, but kind of washed over me too. I'm pretty much done with whimsical genre films at this point. And I wonder if this had come out at a slightly different time, even if it would have been a little bit more successful. There have been a really large influx of movies that are kind of fantasy filled lately that I feel like this might just have felt like, oh, it's just another one. And if you don't necessarily connect with D&D, I could see people passing on it.
yeah.
But
Dean, if it had or Pete too, if this had a darker tone to it, not sort of that G-rated comedy, do you think it would have done better, or did you like it how it was, like the tone and the comedy in it? Because I'm curious if this was like an actual like if it was taken a bit more seriously, if I would have enjoyed it more.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I mean, it had a pretty dark. I mean, the main antagonist of the film. No parts with her are funny. She's a it's like a huge tonal shift whenever she's on the screen, which does feel kind of odd sometimes because you have Chris Pine and he's kind of, quick-witted, light on his feet, kind of funny guy, and then you have
makes
this
the plans.
Yeah, yeah, and then you have this antagonist who's just like evil to the core, and then kind of like an unexplored plot line, which I guess they're gonna, carry over into the next movie if they make one. Because she has like somebody that she answers to that you see, but it goes nowhere. So that was weird. But yeah, I think if it was darker, it probably would have been fine.
I feel like that about a lot of movies, though. Like sometimes I feel like when they try to purposely make a movie for everybody, it becomes like it's almost for nobody. Even if this is still like obviously very well received, like we said with the Rotten Tomatoes, people liked it. Don't get me wrong; it's clearly for people, but it's just like choose a side because they're like even some of the trailer bits. I was like, oh, maybe this is like not a G-rated necessarily film. Like when they're it's the guy they're talking to. It's like a skeleton out of the grave in the trailer. And I'm like, ooh, he's juicy and gross looking. Like, I mean, like maybe, right? So one thing I loved about the advertisements for this film though was the movie voice. I feel like they got away from the movie voice years ago already, but it's like in a world where blah. I love that kind of stuff, man. It makes me laugh every time.
I know for me, especially, I know I'm bringing it back to Elden Ring, and then revisiting Bloodborne and Dark Souls. I can't get enough of fantasy genre stuff. I find myself looking for that on Netflix. Just movies I've missed that have followed in this kind of footsteps, with like knights and spells and dragons and sword fights and armor, and it's like I can't get enough of that. So for me, I mean, even if it honestly, if this movie sucked, I probably still would have liked it. You know what I mean?
Dean, I'm kind of the same way. Like even the book series I'm reading right now, dragons, magic, knights, dwarves, elves, all that.
Yeah,
totally.
So, yeah, I know someone said they what was that comment? They're done with fantasy. Yeah, not me. Keep it coming.
I'm in the same boat, but this is a good comment from Shiny too, because it's been having to compete with John Wick 4 at the moment. Going to the movies, as you guys know, it's just not cheap. It's not cheap, right? So if you only have a certain amount of dollars in your coin purse that you're ready to spend on some film fun, and something like John Wick 4 is in there, you've been excited for that for years.
John Wick 4, Mario.
Well, that Big Dog Pound 1 just asked that. Have you guys seen the Super Mario film yet, or is that on the?
It's on my list.
Yeah,
it's on my
list.
I'm
gonna wait until they put it on
streaming,
because I think it's like 2 weeks or maybe like a month.
So you bring up a very interesting point because even now we're talking about like box office and stuff. The environment this past year has been for movies going to theater. It's so different than what it was 4 years ago. It's almost you can't really compare box office numbers because the turnaround for streaming time is for Disney we got 45 days. Same thing with some DC movies. So a lot of people, I mean,
That's
I
why I
know
didn't see Ant-Man. I was like, it's gonna be on Disney Plus soon. I'll just
yeah,
wait to
so
see
I,
it.
I mean, I know for me, I've been that way with some things, and I know for a lot of people I know it's I can wait 5 weeks, I can wait 6 weeks for
Yep.
this. And in the past, 6 months, 1 year for the DVD, and then you
I
kind
remember
of
it was
hope
like
that
3 years.
then you hope
Literally.
that right
In the
after that
80s.
Netflix or something would pick it up. Now, no, 45 days, that's quick.
Yeah, man. Pete, you said you saw the Super Mario's film without
Yeah.
spoilers. What were your thoughts on it?
Yeah, really good. So just to jump on about the rating and stuff. For me, I suppose it's different because I only really go to cinema with my son now. So I never go to I don't go to the cinema as an adult with like mates or anything anymore. So the more things that he can watch, the better for me. So over here we have a 12A. So that means that anyone under 12, as long as there's an adult with them, can watch them. So obviously they push to get a lot of movies in at that rating, and you very rarely see anything above that now. Like, it's very rare to get. We have a 15 or an 18, and there's not a lot. I don't even know what John Wick 4 is, to be honest. It wouldn't surprise me if that's a 12A, because they seem to push everything through. I think short of using the C word, you can get away with pretty much everything that back in my day would have been a 15, maybe even an 18. So Mario was good. I think as with like a lot of these sort of first movies, it spends a lot of time bringing in all the characters and kind of alluding to all the sort of the tropes and the history of what we know that those characters do and everything. But I really enjoyed it. I thought it was really well done. It was good fun.
Absolutely. And sorry to interrupt you guys there. 12-inch Moose Stream, good to see you here, buddy. Thanks for joining once again. Another Let's Get Nuts show Sunday. We also have Dante's Boneyard just joined. What's up, peeps? Good to see you here, buddy. I want to switch gears a little bit, guys. That was a great chat, though. Thanks for giving me all that. Now I'm kind of a little more pumped up to see that movie. I'm not going to lie. So I think I'm going to see it. I'll give you guys an update when I do. Riley reviews in the chat here as well. What's up, everybody? Rad to see Austin on the panel. Austin is now permanently invited, so anytime he's got a Sunday afternoon where he's chilling out and hanging out and wanting to join, absolutely welcome. Yeah. Same extension to you, though, Riley, and really anybody in the chat. If you guys ever want to just join a panel and shoot the shit, this is an easy one to do it because it's not too formal. We just have some fun here. So, but I want to switch.
I appreciate it.
Yeah, 100%, no problem. I want to switch gears, boys, because I want to see what your thoughts are on all these headlines that we keep seeing. It's driving me a little bit nuts lately about this fellow. So, some context. Jonathan Majors recently allegedly has been involved with some incidents with his partner or baby mama or whatever. I don't want to speak to his innocence or guilt by any stretch. I was clearly not there. I have no idea whether he is guilty of that or not. But I keep seeing, feed posts like this one, where Kang may be recast by Disney, and then you see another post that says actually he's being kept by Disney, and we saw a post that said his lawyer was going to throw out the charges, but now it's been a month later and those charges still exist, and we're getting these breaking news titles, right, that it's like Disney Marvel Studios in plans to recast Jonathan Majors and all of this stuff. The reason I wanted to ask you guys what your thoughts were on it was, even if he is recast, let's just say he is, do you think that that's going to be devastating for the character of Kang moving forward in the MCU? Or do you think it's still the right time to recast them if they need to?
I haven't seen Quantumania, so I don't really know how that movie ends. But I know for the character of Rhodey, he was recast after one movie, and to me it ended up working out better because you don't get attached to that character or that actor. So it's like I would almost say the sooner the better, because it's just gonna be more disappointing later. If that makes sense.
I think it's disappointing that, again, at this point, still, let's call it an accusation, hasn't been solidified yet. be so devastating for somebody's career. And then there are folks like Ezra Miller out there who has been charged with a bunch of crimes lately, and like, you know, his Flash movie is still coming. Now, it obviously remains to be seen whether he'll still be part of the DCEU kind of moving forward after that film or not. But they're at a point where they could technically recast, you know, the Flash role because of everything that's happening with their supposed Flashpoint. Whereas with Jonathan Majors, I mean, he's just getting started. You're right, he was in Quantumania, and of course, He Who Remains in Loki season 1. But I'm pretty confident Loki season 2 is already like pretty much made. Like, and he looks like he'll be the antagonist in that show as well. So, Austin, same question to you. Like, what do you feel would be the appropriate time to recast if they had to, or have they passed that line? Is it going to be devastating for Disney?
So let's say it is the absolute worst case scenario and they have to recast them. I agree with Dean. It would have to be as soon as possible, just for damage control of taking the audience out of it. For me, though, I'm absolutely obsessed with Jonathan Majors. He is truly, I think he's an amazing actor. And I loved him as King. And is it going to take me out of it if they do swap him? Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, he's really the thing I'm looking forward to the most with the MCU right now.
For sure. I just watched Creed 3 2 days ago.
Same.
Really enjoyed it, the film overall. Probably my least favorite of the Creed franchise, surprisingly, but like still like a good flick, a popcorn flick for sure. Jonathan Majors, though, to me, at least in that film, was the standout actor. I mean, and it still had a pretty good, you know, cast. Michael B. Jordan is still a great, you know, person, it seems like. I can't decide if I think he's a great actor or if he's always a little Michael B. Jordan for me, but, like, that's okay. Like, he still has, if he's put in the right position, like in that film, I think he still shines. But to me, like, every time Jonathan Majors was on the screen, I mean, he just absolutely captivated me. I felt the same way in Quantumania. I felt the same way in some of the final episodes of Loki season 1. I would think that they would have a really difficult time recasting this character because of just kind of who he is and kind of his emphasis in the role.
Dude, you nailed it. You nailed it. That was my exact thoughts for Creed 3. I liked it. It was my least favorite out of the trilogy, though. Props to Michael B. Jordan for his directorial debut. 100%. In that sense, it's a good movie. And I like Michael B. Jordan a lot. He has a lot of charm, a lot of swagger. Yet, Jonathan Majors stole every single scene.
For sure. I think that the challenging part when it comes to all these breaking news headlines is that nobody knows anymore really what the truth is, except for the people who are involved in the incident. I think the downfall of social media just in our society is that, like, we get this stuff blasted to our phones just absolutely constantly, and it's really hard to sort out what's fake news and what's real news. And the point is that there really is no news. It's not really news until it's news. It's not news until he's recast. That's going to be a big deal. But I think when it comes to a big character in the MCU, like, I know a lot of people are feeling fatigued by the MCU recently, but it still has been like, it's been around for a decade and a half almost. Like, some people have absolutely grown up with the MCU. So even if they're like, I'm a bit tired of the movies at the moment, when this type of news looms over a franchise like this, it can be a little bit nerve-wracking, especially because it feels like a lot is weighted on Phase 5 right now. If Phase 5 does poorly, that's going to really pull a lot of those longtime fans, I think, out. And I know that Jonathan Majors as Kang was a really big contributing factor to people still being, like, excited enough to at least go and watch the movie. Pete, same question then posed for you. What are your thoughts on at least this news or lack of news? And do you feel like it poses a real problem for Disney and Marvel, or do you think that they'd be able to bounce back from that pretty quickly?
I'm probably going to take a very different view on this. I haven't really since Endgame, I've really struggled with a lot of the Marvel stuff. I didn't mind some of the TV shows, but I found most of the movies to be quite underwhelming. Obviously, starting with Eternals, and then I wasn't a massive fan of Wakanda Forever. And I did see Ant-Man, and I didn't mind it. It was good fun. It had some great kind of, I call them aliens. They're quantum, characters, but they were good. I wasn't a massive Loki fan. I thought that it was okay in sort of principle, but it bored me a bit. And I know everybody loves Kang, and I get this guy's probably a great actor. I haven't seen Creed 3 yet or anything, but I don't know. I wasn't blown away with Kang as a character, and I think for me, particularly in the superhero genre, Marvel and DC, they're constantly recasting, rebooting, and we all think, oh, this is going to be the end of the world. You know, how are we going to get on with, you know, this person being Batman or this person being Spider-Man? But they do it time and time again. Obviously, it's not a desirable situation to be in, to be forced to make a change like that. But I think, yeah, they could bounce back from it, and I think that obviously for me, Marvel, it's not had the appeal since sort of Endgame and everything, and it's hard for me to get excited about it. Really, I still watch the movies, but so yeah, it's a bit of a negative view. But I think that it would be difficult and a shame, but I think that they could
pull it off.
They could, yeah.
I don't think it's necessarily a negative view, Pete, to be honest. I think it's just real, right? I mean, it's just kind of really the way a lot of people are feeling. I think that they could get away with recasting it at this point. We are not that invested yet. There's enough other actors with excellent acting chops out there that I think could slip into the position and still do it well. One recast or subtle recast that stuck with me recently was on the Game of Thrones show House of Dragon, where halfway through that season they changed the two young lady actresses. Yeah. And for the first, I want to say episode and a half, it just totally tanked my love for the show, because I was like, oh, I really liked the younger actresses that were doing it. I was connected to them. I felt like they were doing a really good job. And then who are these girls? They almost don't even look the same. Their personalities are supposed to be the same, but they're clearly different people, and it pulled me out of it for about an episode and a half, and then by the end of that season I was fully invested again and ready for second season and excited about it. And I think it would be the same way here. It would be like breaking up with somebody a little bit at first. They get recast, you're kind of like, I missed that one, until you see the next person come in and crush it, and then you're like, okay, it was fine, it was all good. So won't spend any much more time with that, but I was just curious what your thoughts were, guys, because again, for me, that was something that was kept coming up in my feed, and it was sticking with me a little bit. We'll blast through some of this next movie news. I just wanted to mention this. HBO Max, which is becoming Max, I think is kind of funny, but they gave us a first look at the Penguin from his new show coming up in 2024. I mean, he looks exactly the same as he looked like in Batman, so it's not like, oh my god, look, the Penguin. It's the same character. What I was excited about most here is that they are proceeding with that universe in television form, which I think is going to be really cool. At the end of that Batman film, I feel like they alluded to the fact that, people are going to now step in to this position and kind of make their way through the villainous rankings of Gotham in their universe. And clearly it's going to be Penguin as kind of one of the big bads moving forward. I thought Colin Farrell did a really good job, so I was excited about this one. Real quick, if you had to add anything to this Penguin character, Dean, what would you add?
I don't know. A top hat? One of those.
Yeah, a little monocle. Umbrella. I felt like he didn't have enough umbrellas. Fair, yeah. Austin, what would you say, buddy?
I mean, I think those are the only two answers: the top
For
hat
sure.
or umbrella.
You love to see it.
A little flyaway umbrella that lets him fly. Yeah. No, I thought it was perfect. Honestly, for the tone in what the Batman was to me, I think he was fantastic. I don't know what else I would change.
100%. The chat saying monocle, Oswald in his top hat, for sure. It was interesting. I mean, they clearly didn't give us that just because they wanted to give us a bit of an alternate universe version. But there are some things with certain characters that just work. Like across all universes, it just works. He looked the least like the Penguin character in my mind, even though I thought he did a really good job. And I liked that little, I don't know if it was a bit of an Easter egg or just a flub, but like at the end of the Batman film when he's in handcuffs and he's kind of shuffling along, kind of looking like a penguin, I was like, I see what you did there. I see what you did there. So.
Yeah, I mean, that movie is fantastic, don't get me wrong, but every single scene this guy's in, he steals the show. It's like, I just wanted the Penguin to be the bad guy. Like, because they kind of set it up that way to, give you like a quick, like, oh, you thought. But then when that happened, I was like, no, I do want the Penguin. Like, he was so good. I want more Penguins. So I'm excited for this.
So they had to have thought ahead because, this is Colin Farrell. Like, this is a pretty highly rated actor for
100%.
Honestly, for the scenes he had, it was pretty small, smaller than what I expected. So I'm curious if they actually had this show planned out the entire time they made the movie.
Well, especially now that the DCEU has been taken over, there's a change in management. It does sound like we're going to get another Batman, but it does sound like the Batman we got with Pattinson is also going to have kind of his own universe as well.
I mean,
so
DC's always done that though.
100%.
I think they've shined with the Elseworld stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Really, what they've done animation like for the animated movies. They just need to apply that to live action.
Yeah.
Just do that.
Well, not only the animated movies, but then you have all the TV shows on the CW.
True.
In conjunction with the movies that have been coming out in the theaters, like they've always had their hand in all different kind of cookie jars. So I don't think it takes away from anything. Like, oh, they need to focus on this and that. I think DC, that's kind of one of the things that they do. I don't want to say best because, let's be honest, some of their stuff is not super great. But it works for them, apparently. So,
Big Dog Pound 1 says, I hope to get to see some characters from Batman's Rogue Gallery in the show. Definitely. In fact, I actually even liked that about the television show Gotham when it was out. I thought they did a good job. At first, I wasn't totally sold on Ben McKenzie as Gordon, and he really grew on me, and the whole show really grew on me slowly over time. So definitely, we'll see where this show goes, but I'm excited for
better
it.
see some punchlines soon somewhere.
Speaking of which, Punchline should be arriving on your desk like any day now, right?
Oh, it's right in front of me.
It's in front of you? You've got it already?
Yeah.
Oh, are you waiting for Monday unboxing?
Yeah.
Okay. Okay. So tune in to Collecting Weekly tomorrow night for Collector's Unboxing, because Dean is going to be showing off his Punchline statue, and he's been waiting for this for a while. It's going to be fun. I'm going to be sweating watching you try and take that thing out of the box. Like, if it's anything like John's unboxings, where he's going to stand on a ladder.
I'm trying to figure out how I'm going to do it, because I have another webcam that I get set up right here. But I don't know about my microphone and
we're going to get to see sides of Dean that we didn't know exist. I'm excited for it. So, yeah. There you go. Tune in to Collecting Weekly tomorrow night, everybody. We're almost done with the entertainment news, and then we got some collecting news for 6 scale that I want to get into. But I wanted to show this. This came up as just a quick poster for the Joker 2 that's coming out with Lady Gaga in the Harley Quinn role. We talked a little bit about it 2 weeks ago on Let's Get Nuts. So if you want to know our thoughts on the film and kind of what's the news around Lady Gaga, check that episode out after. It was a really good chat, but I was just excited to see some poster art. I like Lady Gaga as a singer moving into actress roles, especially if there's a role that's fit well for her, and I feel like this could actually be one that fits well for her. Despite my love of Margot Robbie and her representation of Harley, I think this could be interesting. So I'm excited to see the poster art here. Now, into some 6 scale news, I wanted to highlight this. I know not all of us are Mondo toys collectors, but Mondo has given us some wonderful offerings in the He-Man universe, as well as X-Men. And their Wolverine was beautiful. Their Magneto was absolutely beautiful. And now we're getting this tease for Gambit. Looks like we'll get more information literally tomorrow. This was posted about a day ago. So stay tuned on Mondo Shop's website and for news on their Instagram and Facebook page. Because what I've noticed with Mondo Toys is when pre-orders go up for these guys, they tend to sell out pretty darn quickly. And it doesn't really look to me, for the most part, that they reissue. They did reissue the He-Man at one point, but for the most part, once these guys are gone, they are gone. Is Gambit a character, or even just the X-Men 97 universe, something that you really like, Austin? I don't know how old you are, so it's hard to know, like, if this is like super nostalgic for you or
Oh,
not.
absolutely. Yeah, absolutely.
Nice.
Yeah, definitely nostalgic for me. I love it. I don't necessarily. I like Mondo in the work they do. It's not necessarily, doesn't warrant it enough to be in my collection, though.
Interesting.
But I've liked all the 6-scale X-Men right over here. So
You have like the Sideshow ones, or
yeah, Sideshow, So toys.
and
Yeah.
the Soso toys? Yeah. Did you get your hands on the Rogue from Soso?
Yeah, that was a day one pre-order for me.
Yeah, the pre-order day. I missed
Yeah,
it.
yeah. So at this point, whenever they actually
Get it
have
to
it
people.
distributed, yeah.
Yeah, I thought it would be sooner. Honestly, I thought people would have it by
Well,
now already.
They
but-
initially said it was going to be sent out in December, but they've had some issues. I mean, look at Homelander. I mean, that's been delayed now for a year or so, or maybe a bit more.
For sure. My buddy Marco over at 16 Fix, he's got the Cajun card dealer version, and that is a beautiful figure. I am jealous of the folks that have that. Oh, he's like, oh, I got it. I'm going to show you. Dean, do you collect figures? Oh, he's so nice looking, Austin. That's just awesome.
Fantastic.
I'm jealous. I like that hairpiece too. That's my favorite of the hairpieces that come with that figure. Dean, do you collect figures that look like cartoon figures? So, like, do you have any like animated style figures in your collection, other than, like, I guess your Final Fantasy offerings?
Yeah, I have like Final Fantasy figures, my Dragon Ball Z figures.
Dragon Ball Z, right?
God, let's see.
You're still collecting.
I mean,
Sonic.
I have a bunch of anime figures. I have like my anime waifus up there.
Nice. Is X-Men 97 a line you'd collect from? Like, do you get the Mondo ones, or not for you?
I got a lot of heat for this. I don't like X-Men.
Oh my god.
They never resonated with me. I never liked the X-Men.
We just lost like 8 viewers all at one go.
Yeah, it's
Like,
like-
what? Dean
It's
doesn't
like
like it?
whenever I say I don't like the Nolan trilogy Batman films, everyone's like, "How dare you?" It's the same thing. I don't like X-Men.
Dean doesn't like fun. Okay.
I actually, objectively though, because I can be objective, I love these figures. I think they're so cool because of the nostalgia factor, and they do look like they're ripped right from the show. I think they're fucking cool. I would never own them because, again, I don't like the X-Men enough to want them in my collection. But I can appreciate how cool they are.
Oh, I
And I know a
forgot.
lot of people don't like the style, especially in the scale. It's like, it's just a big action figure. It's not a like true 6-scale collectible. But yeah.
Were you
Going
gonna say,
on,
Austin?
Yeah, I didn't mean to cut you off, Dean, or anything. I forgot. I have the Mondo Rick and Morty 6-scale set. I completely
cool.
forgot about that.
Oh, there you go. Yeah.
That's pretty cool. So the reason I asked you guys is not necessarily even for X-Men for me, because at this point it's a little too late. I didn't get the Wolverine or the Magneto, so it wouldn't make sense for me to get this guy specifically in my collection. But I've been looking at the Batman the Animated Series figure line from Mondo, because I've got most of the 7-inch scale now, and I absolutely love those figures. But in 6 scale, they're basically just the 6 scale version of those smaller toys, kind of like you just said, Dean. So for me, I'm kind of like, even for those guys, as much as I think that they're a cool offering in 6 scale, I worry that it would break my immersion in my collection a little bit, that so many of my other collectibles are more like movie realistic or TV realistic, like human characters, and then I'd have kind of the cartoon representation in the collection. But I also feel like I've already got those figures in my collection, so like, does it make sense to buy them again just in a bigger scale? Pete, what do you think when it comes to adding, comic book style or cartoon style characters into a 6-scale collection? And how would you make that work if you tried it?
Yeah, it's not for me. I very much enjoy figures with kind of like the soft goods and the realistic looking and everything. Not to say that these aren't cool. And I did when you refer to it as 97, that's when it finished, right?
Yes.
I was just having a look. Yeah, because I used to watch a lot of this. I was I kind of discovered it in the States. For my second year at university, I spent 4 months in Worcester, Massachusetts, at university there, and some of the guys there used to watch this, so we just used to sit and binge watch this. So I love the series and everything. So I quite like the X-Men, but yeah, for me, it wouldn't be something that I would collect. But I think if you had it as a standalone, because I've got various areas of my collection, and you could have a separate area for them, not necessarily mix them in with the hot toys and all that sort of thing, because
so
they look quite
strategizing.
jarring there. But yeah,
Yeah.
if you had them as a separate display, that would look cool.
For sure, and I think that's what I was curious about, if you thought that they could go together or not. Because like for me, I think for a lot of us, in terms of our collection rooms, there's only a finite amount of space, and once you start to fill that space, you're like, I don't know, like I like it, but do I need it? Even right now, like I've got my Sideshow Deadpool on sale because I've got the Ryan Reynolds Deadpool 2 figure in my collection. I'm excited for the Hugh Jackman to pair with him, even though they're not from the same movie. Like that's fine. Like I want to see a Hugh Jackman with him, and so I had the second Deadpool, and it's just like I'm having a hard time fitting him in with the rest of my collection, so he's getting moved on. It's just the way she goes with collecting, and I don't want to go through the loops and hoops of getting these from Mondo just to flip them, especially when right now flipping figures isn't as good as it used to be. Like you're likely losing money if you come out flat. You're lucky. You're likely losing money at this point. It's pretty tricky. Mondo may be slightly exception to that, just because again, like I said earlier, they do sell out real quick, but it does remain to be seen. Guys, this also popped up on my feed this week. This is a little bit of a tease for the Batman Forever Batmobile from Jazz Inc. Now, clearly, this is a prototype. This is not a final version by any stretch of the imagination. But I thought it was cool to flip through these pictures really quickly, because I do now have the Keaton Batman in my collection. I've got the Dick Grayson, or the, what do they call them, the Throbbing in my collection. Got them. I have not got into 6-scale vehicles quite yet, because that, like we're talking about just a few minutes ago, with displays and creating space, feels like an extremely daunting part of it. Austin, I'll start with you. Do you have any 6-scale vehicles in your collection?
Yeah, I have the Tumbler, and I have like a 6-scale speeder bike from Sideshow.
For sure. Or have you thought about getting any Jazz Inc. offerings in your collection, or?
No, so I mean, I'll have like the DeLorean whenever it ships to me. I like Jazzy, I do. I like Batman Forever a lot. It just, that price doesn't warrant it enough for me to have in the collection. I feel like I could allot that money and put it elsewhere and be quite a bit happier.
100%. I hear that as well. I think it does come down to price. If it was affordable and it's easy to find space for sure. And not to say this isn't affordable, but I do think Jazz Inc. offerings do feel like they're for that next echelon level of collector who want to spend that little bit more, right?
I'll tell you this, maybe if my collection was more streamlined to like either just DC or just Batman, absolutely, yeah. But I'm kind of all over the place, man. I have Star Wars, Marvel, DC, lots of different movie characters, big into horror, so have a lot of horror characters. So I'm kind of just all over the place.
For sure. You can put like Freddy Krueger in the Batmobile, but it might look a little weird. But
yeah.
Right. You can make it work. Dean, I know you don't love the Batman Forever film, so I know you probably won't get this. Has there been a 6-scale vehicle ever in your collection, though? And if not, what would be the one that you would like break your shelf for?
I actually have one on pre-order. It's for the Game Toys Advent Children Cloud.
Ooh, the bike?
Yeah, this is the Player Kai version, so it's like 1/10 scale-ish. So I'll have that in 6 scale soon. But yeah, as the ones that are out now, I can't really think of one that I'm like, I need to own that. Like I like Ghostbusters enough, but I'm also not going to spend all that money on that line to have everybody and then the car.
That Ecto one, I don't even know where most people would put that thing.
It is massive.
freaking
I don't know if you guys
huge.
have seen the Ecto One.
Yeah.
So when Denobi picked me up, and I went to his place, that was my first time seeing it actually in person. And for whatever reason, I have this 6-scale tumbler. So that's kind of my basis for like 6-scale vehicles. Now this thing's like 3 times as big. It is massive.
Yeah, it's wicked big.
Crazy.
Yeah, even the DeLorean I think looks massive, and that's dwarfed by the.
Yeah, the DeLorean's bigger than the 6-scale tumbler, and then the Ecto One just dwarfs the DeLorean.
I almost bought the Jazink Land Speeder for Luke because most of my Star Wars collection, other than clones, is A New Hope. So I was like, oh, that'll fit my collection. I did really want the Falcon cockpit. I know it's not a whole vehicle, but those are 2 that I would consider, like, actually consider getting.
I like the concept of the cockpits, honestly, because then you get a chance to display it really well without having to, like, carve out, like, especially for something like the Millennium Falcon, which would just, like, would be impossible.
Oh, it'd take up a whole garage.
Yeah, it would be impossible, right? So I think that's cool.
Yeah, but yeah, in terms of like Batmobiles and stuff, no, I wouldn't. Not for me.
Pete, what's your favorite Batmobile?
Well, 89 definitely, and I did own the original one of that for a while, but it was massive, too big. Just felt very plasticky. Not to say it felt cheap, but it's a big black lump of plastic that gathers dust. Unless you've got a huge cabinet to put it in,
Coffee table or something.
Yeah, I had the that's still my favorite Batmobile. But I had the original DeLorean, sold that, but I have got the new one on order. But obviously, not quite sure what's happening with that at the moment. If they've stopped sending those out while they look at the issues that people have been having, so I don't know when I'll get that. I have the Jazink Falcon cockpit. And
you do, eh?
It's brilliant.
That's pretty sweet.
Yeah.
It looks amazing.
It is amazing, yeah. Probably the only Jazink thing I'll ever have. I kind of said that I'll get one. I was tempted by the Snow Speeder, but huge. I don't have any room left.
Sure.
The only thing I would say with the Falcon cockpit though, it's how to display it, because unless you have it sort of down like coffee table height, it's difficult to see the figures in it. So it's a kind of double-edged sword. It's brilliant, it's amazing, and I've got some great figures in there, but I feel like I don't see those figures very much. I've got A New Hope, I've got a custom hand, I've got Chewie, I've got Leia with the Yunsil dress, stuff like that, and because it's kind of up on a shelf, unless I actually physically get up and look into it, so it's a double-edged sword. I love it. I don't want to sell it, but I almost feel like I'd rather have those characters on the shelf. So it's a difficult one. And again, if you get a Batmobile and you stick Batman in it, I think you're kind of losing some of your display.
They almost need to give you half, like figures that are cut in half for these as well. Because I was looking at this, and I think this is a cool Batmobile. When I was a kid, I thought this was a really cool Batmobile, and I had a toy version of it back then. I can't remember who made the toy, but I used to play with that thing all the time. It was really fun. I really like that Jazink has really got the lights on point with this prototype. They look bright. They look accurate. I think that looks fantastic. But when I think about that Batman that I've got, the Val Kilmer Batman, that is definitely my least posable figure that I have in my collection. You would never get it into the cockpit, whether or not it's 6 scale or not. You'd literally have to cut it in half in order to get it in there. And so then you end up having a display where they're standing beside the vehicle, which can still look pretty badass, let's be honest. I've seen some really cool displays that way. But for me, this isn't one that's come into my collection, but I want to hear from the chat. Has anybody been thinking about getting this figure in their collection? Give me a thumbs up in the chat if you have been thinking about it, or a thumbs down if you have not been thinking about it. I'd love to know how many people actually are buying some of these ones, because I feel like a lot of the time we as fans and collectors ask for certain things, and then don't necessarily buy them
Yeah,
once they come to fruition.
I'm surprised how big the hype and interest for this is, to be honest, because I'm not a massive fan.
Me
of it
too.
either, and
I used to not tell people I was even a fan of Batman Forever because you knew you were just opening a door.
yeah,
Oh.
and I feel as a Batmobile, it's purposely ridiculous looking. It's
Yeah.
covered in lights. It's not stealthy. It's not
It's not stealthy.
That
It
wing
fits
on
the tone of the
that-
movie.
Yeah, I know, but that wing on the top is huge, isn't it?
I remember
massive.
being a little kid when this movie came out and thinking like, what? Because the first Batmobile from '89 was so cool,
Yeah.
and then this was just like, ew.
The hell is that?
Yo, I like this movie and I like Batman and Robin. I'm in that boat, so I'm a minority.
You liked? Sorry, you said you liked the Batman and Robin film.
Yeah, I do.
That's
Yeah.
that to me is very like I have to be in a very specific mood
It's
to
so
watch that movie.
campy. It's so campy. It's so fun. You know, I don't take it seriously. Like,
All right, everyone, chill.
what killed the dinosaurs? The Ice Age. You know, so many awesome one-liners. I love it.
I was getting some Mr. Freeze clips together at one point, and I had to stop because there was so many puns from that movie. It was like 4.5 minutes long.
Allow me to break the ice.
Yes.
Yeah.
Can you imagine a six-scale figure of that?
Yeah.
I would be all in.
They've teased it with Mars Toys, and I think, but I think it's the pajamas version. I honestly don't think it's the prison suit version. I don't think it's going to be him in his full suit.
I'd be okay with that prison suit or him in his robe and like little bunny slippers or whatnot. I'd be okay with that.
For sure. Guys, I don't think any of you are Star Trek fans.
I am.
But
I'm massive. I told
Are you
that
okay?
last show.
Oh yes, I forgot. Okay, thank you,
False.
Pete. Thank you.
How
Thank
dare
you so much. Right, you hate to see it. Fake fan over here. Lopac. You hate to see it. Then I'm going to start with you, Pete. Have you seen Picard season 3?
Yeah.
Did you cry? Because I cried.
Ah,
I'm like, oh,
incredible.
hit me right in the
Incredible.
nostalgic
It
feels.
does. This season has been absolutely fantastic, and that last episode was
Absolutely fantastic.
was brilliant. Yeah.
I don't want to spoil it. I don't want to spoil it for anybody. So because it's still pretty recent. But sorry to cut you off, Pete. But
Yeah, that's okay.
do you collect any of the Exo 6 figures?
I haven't got it at the moment. I did have the motion picture Kirk for a little while, but I sold him on. But I'm holding out. I want the Wrath of Khan.
Wrath of Khan.
3 figures. That's what I'm waiting for. But it just seems like it's never. It's teased a lot, and we know they're coming. But I almost feel like they're going to be like some of the very last figures that Nanjin releases at the end of his kind of whatever his 5-6 year plan that he's got.
This has been a strange year, though, because last year was absolutely chock filled with announcements and releases, and so far this year the announcements and even teases have been very minimal. And I would imagine they're just trying to get production caught up. I'm very excited about my Locutus figure that I've got ordered. I've got it paid off, and especially after this last episode, again, I don't want to give much away, but I'm even more excited about having Locutus of Borg in my collection. Data, just seeing Brent Spiner again in the role, even though he's a bit of a hybrid to what he was as Data exclusively, when they killed Data off in Star Trek Nemesis, I was devastated because he was my favorite character from Next Generation, and I thought that there could be still such a vast future of seasons and shows that could come featuring these characters, that what would they do without Data? And so the fact that we even had season 1 and 2 of Picard that were kind of lackluster in my opinion, even though they
through those,
they added him in, sprinkled him in through memory and through dream sequences and stuff, but it just wasn't the same. To see him back in his form and seeing everybody on the Enterprise D bridge the other day was beautiful. So I don't want to get more into it, but if anybody has been lukewarm about watching Picard season 3 because maybe they didn't like season 1 and 2, if you're Star Trek fans, I do recommend.
Okay, I got a question for
Sure,
a
100%.
person who doesn't know much about Star Trek.
100%.
Okay, I'm not one of those nerds, but can I just pick up on this show without ever watching anything prior?
You
Or what I
can
missed little things?
Watch
You
Best
can-
of Both Worlds, and
Yeah. Yeah, if you watched exactly, so if you watched season 3, the last episode of season 3, and the first season episode of season 4 of Star Trek: The Next Generation, it's called Best of Both Worlds, Part 1 and Part 2, and then watched Picard season 3. You would know at least mostly what is going on. There are definitely Easter eggs in here that you're like, it would probably go over your head. I think for Star Trek fans, one of the reasons it's made guys like me cry is because it's got just so much nostalgia in it. There's so many things and characters that I wanted to see again that like they've given it to us, and it's like the whole thing. So you might be like, it's a good show, but I don't get why people like are hyping it so hard. But for the people who really love, especially Star Trek: The Next Generation, it's been fantastic. I saw this pop up in my feed the other day, and I think this is V Collectibles on Instagram, I want to say. This is what I wish Exo-6 as a company would give us.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
That is
Right?
That is spot on.
It's amazing, and I like this was teased for an Xavier, a Professor Xavier figure, exclusive, at least in the comments. But I mean, obviously Patrick Stewart, he's a phenomenal actor, and this might be one that, unless it's already sold out, I would try and actually get in the collection, because some of the offerings from this particular group are absolutely amazing. My only complaint with Picard season 3, Pete, is that Picard's just getting a little old at this point. And like, that's not even a knock against him. He is an old gentleman. I'm happy he's still even giving us content at this point, let's be honest. But the poor guy is so frail and old now that he even lacks some of his Picard like oomph that he once had. You know what I mean? But still very, very good.
That's why I think he's benefited from the original cast coming back in for this season.
Yes.
It works so much better as an ensemble piece.
100%.
He's not quite, as you say, as bombastic as he would have been, bombastic as he was before. So,
100%. The only other thing that I would recommend, Austin, that you watch, or really anybody in the chat that isn't necessarily a huge Star Trek fan, but it still wants just a cool movie, is Star Trek First Contact. It is a movie about the villain, the Borg, and this is a character that's been teased from that movie specifically with this outfit, but this is obviously Commander Worf from the movie First Contact that we're looking at, and this is just a tease image. I think it's an interesting deep cut that Exo-6 is giving us this particular character like this, but in this outfit, because there's still whole bridge crews that Star Trek collectors are wanting to build up with traditional Starfleet uniforms on, and we haven't got another figure in an exosuit yet. Like this.
No, they've already teased the next gen suit Worf, haven't
Worf.
they?
They have,
This,
because you saw his Baldric and stuff.
Work went into that piece. Yeah, so this would be a bit of an odd one.
So since you guys are all like Star Trek fans, did you like the Chris Pine Star Trek movie or movies?
I liked it for what it was, for sure. I thought they were entertaining popcorn films. It didn't feel as much like Star Trek though as I would have liked, but I was also more of a Next Generation fan with Picard and Data and those guys versus the original series. So like I didn't have that same level of connection to the original Kirk and Spock or like McCoy that some Star Trek fans out there had. Like I know some Star Trek fans, like I watch a lot of Robert Meyer Burnett, awesome guy, and he's got some really amazing takes on Star Trek if people are interested in the topic. But he was a huge fan of the original series with Shatner and those guys and Leonard Nimoy. So for him, the 2009 Star Trek film with Pine was like terrible. He hated it, right? But I don't think it deserves as much hate as it got. I think they were fun films.
As someone who has no connection to any Star Trek in the past, I like the movies. I had no preconceived expectations or attachment to absolutely anything, so it was fun for me.
Absolutely. Andre here in the chat says, I also wish Exo-6 would get on giving us some TNG crew before these. I fear that the line won't be completed. I agree. I think that I'm worried for the same reason, because we've really seen almost no announcements or even really teases this year yet, and we're already almost at the end of April. Like, what are we going to get? And again, like this scene specifically in the movie is very scene specific. Really, we could only get 2 other characters to go along with this display if you wanted to display exosuit style characters. So it seems a little deep cutty considering we don't have bridge crew already. So
another one of those figures you can do with your Snowspeeder Luke, where you can display it upside down with magnetic boots.
Absolutely right. I mean, you can make it pretty cool.
Yeah.
So, and I've loved seeing Michael Dorn as Worf back
Yeah,
as well
he's been
in
really
mid
cool.
card season
Yeah.
3. But
Yeah.
Austin, check out First Contact, the film, if you have 2 hours of your life, and
Yeah,
see what you
it's-
think of it,
yeah.
and then connect with me after if you want. Kind of a
It's
a 10 episode list of
Yeah.
must watch Trek. Anyways,
it's arguably the best of the next gen films.
oh,
Well,
by
not
far,
arguably.
For
Most people's
for sure.
yeah.
But yeah, that V Collectibles head sculpt was insane. So I just had to mention it, and it tied into all these other,
I saw
all
that.
these
And I
other
was like,
things.
wow, yeah.
Now this is a bit of an update as well. So I believe this is the Toys Era sculpt for Joel, or Pedro Pascal, of course, from the Last of Us television show. This head sculpt on the left was getting a lot of hate pre this update because it was a little boxy, a little weird. He looked a little extra sleepy, really bad bags under his eyes. Dean, I know you've watched The Last of Us, right? You have not watched it yet. So you're a Pedro Pascal fan, at least. Do you feel like this looks enough like Pedro Pascal for people to stop hating on it so much? Or do you think it's still off?
I think it was way worse to begin with. They gave him like this fucking Cro-Magnon brow. It's like, God, this is a caveman. Fuck. This is serviceable. It's certainly not the worst one I've ever seen. I've seen some pretty terrible Pedro sculpts, but I've also seen, even in 12 scale, I've seen better sculpts than this. So you're also not paying top dollar for this. This is a
Bingo.
third. Yeah. So
Bingo.
I feel like-
195, I think, is what I saw.
Yep.
That, right?
yeah, I think like if it's really that big a deal, you could spend the money and get a better sculpt. But yeah, if you just want the representation on your shelf and you're not like a huge stickler, I think it's serviceable.
For sure. I think that this definitely is an improvement. Even 12-inch Moose Dream saying the same thing in the chat. I agree with you. I talked a little bit about this with Will on his collector's Kiko, what is it? Camera Kiko Collects, or whatever it is, on Friday's show. Fun show. I keep wanting to say Collector's Mingle, but that's the show he doesn't have now. But we looked at the full figure on this, and the tailoring actually, I think, was actually now the worst part of the figure. It was a little baggy, a little loose, whereas I think the facial sculpt is improved. Do you agree or disagree with that, Austin? You like the tailoring on the figure?
So I'm pretty odd about this because it's kind of like what Dean said, man. It's a cheap figure. So
True.
like the way I look
You
at
know.
it is, what is the quality to the price point? And with the accessories, I think the tailoring is okay.
Mhm.
I think the tailoring is quality enough for that price point to be happy about, if that makes sense.
It's interesting, though, what our perspective of cheap is, though, right? Because, I mean, that's also factoring in. It depends on kind of where in the world you're located. So, like, even for me in Canada, I often have to pay not only customs charges, but also conversion dollars. And so, for me, this still ends up being a $300 figure or just shy of it.
That's different. Yeah.
Even with a $195 starting price tag. So, like, when I'm dishing out $300, I'm like, okay, for an extra $50 to $100, that's in the Hot Toys range for me then, from Sideshow or any of those other companies. That is a tough nut, honestly. So
That's very fair. No, that's an extremely fair point.
For
So
sure.
I'm
I think-
looking at it only as 195 shipped.
I think as collectors too, Hot Toys and a lot of 6-scale companies in the last year or 2 years have done a really good job at conditioning us for price. So I took psychology in university, so I like talking about price conditioning. And one of the reasons that I say it that way is there was a time where even for Hot Toys figures, we were saying like $285 is crazy. I'll never pay $285 unless it's like a DX version or something like a main character, something that like I really need in my collection. And so they Hot Toys specifically started moving prices up to the $305 and the $325 and the $340 range. And then over the last couple months, we've seen them scale those prices back a little bit, and we're getting more than we felt like in the past for things like $285 again. And now we're like, wow, $285, that's not bad. Like, look at all the stuff we get for $285. And I think it's been very purposeful. It's price conditioning, right? They've been able to effectively move the needle up and then back down so that collectors aren't feeling like they're being gouged for their money. But really, as I said, some of these figures that we're getting even from Hot Toys, used to be in the 245 range, and clearly Hot Toys was still making money on those figures back then. They've done a really good job of it. And for third-party releases, we're not paying for likeness rights here. We're not paying for some of the extra attention and detail that goes necessarily into it. But even, as I said, $195, while that still, for some folks out there, feels like a relatively attractive price tag, it's not cheap enough for me to justify getting it in the collection unless I think it's pretty much perfect. Whereas I think because the show is so popular and it's going to do so well even in a second season, I honestly think we'll see a licensed version of Joel and Ellie come out. But quick thoughts, Pete. What are your thoughts on this upgrade? Has this changed your mind as to whether to get it in the collection or not?
I don't have any interest in having it in the collection, but I think it's definitely an improvement on the original one. I felt the original one was far too chiseled, and he's not really that chiseled. He's got quite a full face, and I think this captures it a little bit better. But it could probably even do with being a little bit even more kind of. I'd be interested to know what people's views would be on. I assumed that people would be snapping up the Mando head to put onto their Last of Us Joel figures, but I don't know whether that's the case or not, whether people don't feel that's particularly strong either.
So that's a good point, actually, Pete, and I mentioned this to Will the other day. I actually think this is still a better head sculpt than Hot Toys gave us.
Yeah.
And they are licensed. I think this is a better likeness to Pedro. He might be a little too sleepy looking for the Mando figure, but maybe not. I think if you plopped it on and it fits, I think that could still be an excellent addition. So yeah, it's interesting to me that this has got so much love and then hate and then love again. So guys, this figure made me laugh out loud in bed the other night because this is by far the most third-party figure I've seen in a long time. I liked Shazam 1. I recently took myself to the movies and saw Shazam 2. And while it didn't do very well in the box office, I thought it was a fun movie. I enjoyed it. I would recommend it to people, especially for a family viewing. It was an easy popcorn film to watch. Now, Zachary Levi, it's hard to know whether we're going to continue to see him as Shazam going forward with the change in management over at DC, or if this is going to be his kind of last offering in the film. This definitely is a figure representation of the first movie, not the second film, where I would say that I actually liked the first film's outfits better. I liked the big, bold lightning bolt. I don't like that they changed it up for this the second movie. But we've had a lot of collectors in the community asking for a Shazam for a while. I don't know if this does it for me. I apologize, don't have the price in front of me on this one, but Pete, is this terrible? Is it good? Am I just giving it too much grief? What are your thoughts on this? And did you see the movie? Would you want to collect from it?
I enjoyed both the movies. Yeah, I enjoyed the second one. I thought it was pretty good. Good fun. Again, not something that I heavily invested in, but I did enjoy it. It's got a decent bit of humour and stuff in it. I don't like the figure. I think the one on the sculpt on the left with the bubble gum is definitely better than the other two. I don't know. He's got one hell of a neck on him, which doesn't fit with the rest of the body really. The rest of the body looks a bit very small and very thin in the torso. I'd find it hard to say much good about this. I certainly wouldn't. I think if I was to look at buying something like this, it would need a lot of customization stuff, and obviously a bigger body would be great, but it's a case of whether or not the costume will fit it. So
yeah, I don't know. Do you think? I mean, I guess I didn't read the description well enough. I wonder if that chest piece is going to light up, or if that's literally just straight up plastic. I feel like that's probably asking for too much.
Shiny plastic.
Just shiny plastic.
I also believe this is I think it was 175.
Okay, thanks for that.
This is rough. Even I'll say 175. This would be a tough pill to swallow. There's not a whole lot of positive things I can say about this. I feel like those who are going to order this are completionists who just need a stand-in, who absolutely just needs to satisfy that void in the collection, and they would accept this. That's the only thing I can think of. There's not a whole lot of fixing this,
Yeah.
other than just start the hell over.
For sure. And I feel like, as much as I'm making fun of it, I feel like it's an effort. Somebody's put their time and effort into it. So I do feel a little bit bad laughing at it so hard. But, like, this is close to what the costume looked like. I feel like from the neck down, it's not terrible. I don't hate the cape. If it was like the 150 range, it was 12-inch Moose Stream saying 169 on kit. If you had it maybe in the back of the display, or Shazam is one of your favorite comic book characters of all time.
Maybe if you just had it in the box.
Just get it in the box.
The bad thing about third-party stuff, too, you have companies like So Toys and Toys Era, where the quality is actually going to be good once you actually get it in hand, right? Then you have companies like Toys Battalion, or does that say Toys Battalion?
Toys Battalion,
I've never heard of. Which, sometimes you have Saturn Toys, for example, which is just an off company from Mars Toys. It seems like they do that as to not attach it to actually what that parent name is, in case that figure tanks or there's bad reviews from it.
You're not wrong.
It seemed I wouldn't put a whole lot of stock in this being better in hand, or the quality of like the proto picture.
Yeah, man. Joao Bretta from Big Bretta's channel, chat with him if you're ever curious what company is a shell version of another company. He's definitely got the inside scoop as to who is who and if it's worthy of buying or not. Dean, are you gonna get the Shazam figure, buddy? I can see a piece in your collection there, buddy, over your left shoulder. I think it could look nice.
Yeah, absolutely not. I will say this. In terms of putting a figure together, the hardest part is usually the outfit.
For sure.
You could get a better head sculpt than this probably right now on eBay.
Mm-hmm.
Send it to somebody like Ian, Darkside Customs, get it painted, shipped it back to you for, I don't know what Ian charges. Another couple $100. I know that's not ideal, but if you have to have this guy on your shelf, I mean, you already got somebody that's doing the outfit for you. So I've custom commissioned outfits before, and it's not cheap.
Yeah.
And mine was a very simple pink jumpsuit from what's that show? Squid Game.
Yep, I remember.
And that was like $100.
And then somebody came out with a version like 10 days after or something. They're like, damn it.
I got it in the mail, and then they put it up for solicitation. It was great. So the hardest part is already done with this figure. If you really need a better head sculpt, there's ways to do it. So
that is great advice, honestly. I think
cheap
that's
enough,
a really good point.
It's cheap enough that you're not breaking the bank, even if you did replace the head sculpt, if you could paint the head sculpt yourself, you save some money. But
oh my god, if I tried to paint a head sculpt myself, it would be like, did people be like, what are you laughing at? You do not deserve to laugh at other people. It would look like I drew it in crayon. It would not be good.
So, I think it's a serviceable enough figure.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe especially the thigh area, you could just tell that they left those extenders on there to bulk out the thigh. It doesn't look great. But again, if you just had to have this guy on your shelf,
which is funny though, because Zachary Levi, he's jacked as of a person as he wasn't as jacked as he looked in his outfit. He clearly had padding in his outfit
100%.
also.
Yeah,
definitely. But I like that point of if you wanted to find a custom Zachary Levi sculpt, the base price for this is still at least getting your foot wet. You've still got a figure body that you can kind of work with. That isn't the worst part of this offering, right?
Yeah.
So
because the outfit, it looks pretty good. It's got textured materials. There's stitching in there. It's got a muscle suit on it. It looks fine. Mm-hmm. The belts, the gauntlets, they look fine. The boots are a little goofy, but that's, It's got the cape. It's got some electric pieces. You know, like 3 head sculpts. I mean, how much is this?
$169 apparently on kit.
Bro, that's actually insane. For 3 head sculpts, I mean, they're not great, but fuck. Like,
You're not
if
wrong.
Hot Toys gave you this with these accessories, because you know they're going to throw electric shit in the box too. I mean, 3 head sculpts? I mean, this is a fucking 400 figure all day from Hot Toys. Now, the quality is going to be a lot better, but still, 160? Yeah, you could make this figure really good if you wanted to.
So funny. Guys, we got about 15 minutes left because I respect your time. I don't want to take too much time. We've got a few more slides to go through. We've got about 25 to 30 people in the chat. If you haven't already hit the like button for me, definitely be appreciated. I appreciate all you guys sticking around for the show so far. I'm having a great time with these boys. Dean, I'm going to start with you on this one because you had some very valid points when it came to Zachary Levi's Shazam. This is also a third-party offering from Play Toys, but I have never heard of Play Toys before, and I wish Joao was here because he might be able to be like, oh, that's just this, but he's not. So for now, I'm like, I feel a little suspect when it comes to this offering. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, this, as it sits, looking at this is fantastic. I think this looks so fucking good. That being said, I'm with you. I don't know who this is. I have no reason to believe that the product is going to come out half this good.
Interesting.
But if it comes out looking like this, I might have to get one.
Yeah,
I don't even really like this movie, but goddamn, this is a great looking figure.
Looks like she's got extra strength Advil on the bottom of her dress here, just ever so slightly. But
Yeah, it does.
I do think the face here and even the tailoring is pretty wicked. I actually think this is a great option if it comes out the way it's looking here. And I think that's the mega point that is my takeaway. Pete, sounds like you agree. What are your thoughts on Queen Amidala here?
Yeah, I thought it was really cool. I'm not a massive fan of I've made my peace with Phantom Menace. I used to hate it, and I can watch it now, and I can take, there's some decent stuff in it, there's some bad stuff, but yeah, this looks brilliant, but it will very much come down to how good that head sculpt is. If it's like it's shown in the solicitation, then yeah, it's fantastic. I probably wouldn't have it because I just don't really have. I've got Qui-Gon, Obi-Wan, and Maul, and that's like my phantom, and that's just because they're Jedis, and I make the CCFL sabers, so I just wanted more Jedis in my collection. So I probably wouldn't buy it, but I do think it looks really good. And I'm just wondering, Play Toys, I'm wondering that they might have made one of the Slave Leia kits back in the day. Not the recent one, but one that came out several years ago. But that's all I can think of as they've done before. And that was pretty good. That was
this Play Toys Woody from Toy Story. I think I've seen that one. Is that the one that looks
Christ,
like
that's hideous?
Yeah.
It's
you just got it. There you go. Let me see if I can solo you here.
It's creepy.
Damn, that is
he's
creepy.
got it.
He's got
It's
I wasn't expecting that.
It's something, guys. This is the
Damn.
only thing I know from Play Toys. So the body is garbage. Absolute. It's abysmal.
Did you get the Buzz Lightyear from Hot Toys to go with them at least?
I did. So I got Buzz from Hot Toys. That's supposed to be shipping out. It says May or June. It'd probably be like July or August. But that's the reason why I got this one. This was like $150, but it's really bad. I think the clothing is pretty good. This body is just so bad. Honestly, in the sculpt for a lot of people is a big turnoff anyway.
It's really creepy. That's like nightmare fuel. If you stuck that in the hallway waiting for your girlfriend to come out of the bathroom at 2 a.m, she wouldn't be your girlfriend for much longer.
No, not at all. But this Queen Amidala from the pictures looks amazing. She looks fantastic. If it comes out in hand like this, I would be so happy for that price point. The scary thing is, if it's based off of like this Woody, that's gonna be such a cruddy body. It's just gonna follow. It won't even be able to stand up.
Interesting. And she does look like she could be a little top heavy, especially with the way her hair is styled, right? I think it's interesting though, like the likeness to Natalie Portman in this prototype is fantastic. Like when we saw some of the initial solicitation for Jane Foster, for example, from Hot Toys, or even the Padme that Hot Toys is giving, like some of those were like, it looks like her, but it's definitely not perfect. I would say this is a 10 out of 10 likeness to Natalie Portman, at least in terms of a prototype with the makeup on and everything. And she it looks exactly like her from my recollection of the film anyways. Outfit tailoring, I'm not an expert with the outfit. I'm sure that there are some subtle differences there. This wouldn't be one that I get, I just because I haven't collected any Star Wars from the prequel trilogy, even though I did kind of want to get my hands on a Qui-Gon Jinn or a Qui-Gon Jinn. So
I feel like Amidala is also one of those most iconic characters, especially this look is like, I mean, you know what it is the second you see it. In terms of getting a terrible body, I mean, you could pick up a World Box female body for like $50. You get a generic one even cheaper, or go on like 1.6 or Toy Anxiety. Buy a body off any female character for like $40. I know you're spending more, but like there's ways around it.
Dean, I feel like the laziest collector because I don't want to do that.
Yeah, I mean you're not wrong, but also I think it's super fun. Like
no, see, I know so many people who do. You get that dopamine rush from that improvement. No, not me.
I get nervous of disrobing my figures because I'm worried I'll never get the clothes back on properly. Like even the Punisher that I just got, I don't really like the figure body underneath the outfit. Like it's really rough, especially like where the forearm connects to the bicep. Is it like there's a really ugly joint there that comes loose really easily when he's holding weapons. So like you put his jacket on and his arms are just kind of like floating in the sleeve. So I kind of want to try and swap out his body. First time I've ever wanted to try and swap a figure body, but because his outfit is so tailored to the figure, I'm like, what if I mess it up and it just never looks the same again, or the color doesn't match? At least for that recommendation here, Dean, you can't see the figure body at least at all underneath. You see your hands poking out, but that's it. So like matching the skin tone wouldn't really make a difference, and as long as you could get the outfit off for her, okay, yeah, it might be a really good contender or candidate for a body swap. Now, this one also came up while I was away in Las Vegas. I've heard people say that this is a dick eye sculpt, that there's some, weird shit going on, that they would never actually use this head sculpt. I kind of like this figure offering. Now, I mean, I've wanted a gold C-3PO in my collection since I started collecting Star Wars figures, and I purposely didn't get the Clone Wars offering because I wanted the gold look. I think this is cool, and it's kind of like a figure and a half all in one. Now, Dean, you gave your thoughts on this very briefly on Collecting Weekly on Tuesday last week. Really good deep dive, and we're moving a little quick here now, but what are your brief thoughts on this, just to reiterate? And is this one that you're picking up? I forget if you said if you were going to grab it.
Yeah, I'm picking this up for sure. Wait, does Salacious Crumb come with C-3PO? Did I miss that?
Yeah, it comes with it.
Oh, shit. Okay. I could have sworn I saw a thing with all the accessories lined up, and it wasn't there. Okay, that's badass, because Salacious Crumb is fucking cool. Yeah, this is a lot closer to my ideal C-3PO. I would much prefer A New Hope, where it's that really shiny chrome, but like real dirty. Because he's not clean chrome until the very end of the movie. But, I mean, this is closer to that than, say, the fucking episode 2 version of it. So this, to me, until I see the A New Hope one, I'm gonna get this, and then I'll sell this to fund that eventually.
For sure. And I think the price point was coming in at the $360. I want to say.
Yeah, it's a little high, but it is die cast, and if you compare that to a die cast Iron Man, granted, a lot more accessories and stuff like that. Those are $450, and then shipping and tags. So
some of that's probably likeness rights, maybe in there as well.
Yeah, $360 isn't the worst, but it's certainly not great. But yeah, I've been waiting for a C-3PO forever. So
for me,
I have the Sideshow one, and it's not great.
I'm glad you mentioned that. So that's been one that I've almost bought a couple times because there's a place called Discovery Hut here in the mall in Calgary, and they have a Sideshow C-3PO on display. I didn't know, though, until I listened to Collecting Weekly last week with you, Dean, I think it was your point, that C-3PO is actually a little tall in comparison to other 6-scale figure offerings.
Yeah, he's taller than Han Solo.
Which I'm glad you mentioned that, because honestly, I bet there's still a lot of people out there who are going to get the sideshow version just because they can get it in their collections maybe a little cheaper.
Yeah.
Maybe if he was standing alone with an R2.
Yeah, it's fine if you don't have him with any of the other characters. If it's just him and R2, it works well enough. But the second you put like Luke in there and Han and Leia, it's like, whoa, wait a minute.
For sure.
Way too tall.
Now, I think the thing that resonates with me is that diecast versus non-diecast thing that they've got going on lately. With the Mark 1 Iron Man, recently they gave us like a map basically with that figure as to what was diecast pieces and what wasn't. So then at least you could kind of feel like if it's a higher price point and people are like, oh, there's diecast in there, at least you would have kind of an indication of how much diecast this actually would be. Because without actually being able to physically pick up a hot toy, I've got figures in my collection right now that if you couldn't touch it, you might think have metal pieces attached to it. This feels like one of those possibilities where I would really like a figure map with every figure that comes with diecast. If they're asking for more money on that figure, I want to know what I'm paying for and where it's located, because if we get the C-3PO in hand and he ends up being like mostly plastic with some metal joints, that's going to piss people off. It would piss me off for sure, because I would be like, that doesn't feel like diecast. Now, my other argument there is that to me, diecast shouldn't necessarily be a more expensive material at this point. Plastic isn't cheap to produce. Metal is not necessarily cheap to produce. It makes things more weighty in the box, so the shipping cost I could see being higher. But diecast is not hard to make. So Pete, what are your thoughts when it comes to that kind of die-cast figure map? Do you feel like for the influx in price that Hot Toys and other companies ask for, if they give you the map of it, would it make it more worth it? Or do you not really care as long as you get, a die-cast C3?
Yeah, I get what you mean. I mean, I have ordered this guy. I'm a sucker for 3PO and R2, and I'll buy most versions of them. So I have got the Attack of the Clones pairing coming, and I'll be quite happy with that. I've got two of the sideshow 3POs. I don't mind him too much. Dean's right, he's a bit tall, but then you can get away with him with Luke because Luke's a short ass anyway. But definitely, and Leia's tiny, but yeah, definitely with Han it's a bit. I weathered one up to look like kind of early on in the movie, with the having been beaten up in the sandcrawl and stuff like that. It doesn't overly bother me whether it's die-cast or not. I think it looks like a great figure. And it's just, it's an excuse to charge more money. And it's funny, isn't it? Because die-cast really has its origins in like Hot Wheels and the little cars, and it was cheaper to make them in that than in plastic. And now people see it as a premium product. It's not really. It does add a bit of weight, and maybe it makes you feel like it's a more premium figure. But I've had die-cast Iron Men, and to be honest, in some respects, it's more of a hassle than anything else because they are more liable to fall over or do some damage if you drop one. So yeah, but I am looking forward to the figure. It does look really good, and I'll just keep buying the shit out of C-3PO and R2. So if a New Hope one comes along, I'll buy that one too. But 100%. This one's a pretty good representation for me.
I think for something like this, especially, if they're advertising it as diecast, just tell us where it is. Tell us what it's made of. Because I think that's what people have been waiting for when it comes to the C-3PO.
And a company that's really good at that is someone like Coup Models, where they make the medieval stuff, and they show you exactly, this is diecast, this is diecast, this is plastic. And you know that you know what you get in there. So
for sure, Austin, I want to go to this one with you next. This Vader obviously has come up. There's two different versions. One, you get this glowing helmet version if you like that look. Otherwise, you can get the standard version or the collectible edition that doesn't come with the glowing helmet, but comes with virtually everything else. Again, don't know your age, but does the Return of the Jedi line truly resonate with you? Is this the definitive Darth Vader for people to get in their collection if they could only choose one Vader? And if not, who would be the definitive Darth Vader for you?
You know what? This is a tough one. So I'm getting this. So pre-ordered. Now, is it the definitive one? This is gonna be really hard for me to answer. I grew up on the prequels, so like I was first introduced to Star Wars by watching like the Phantom Menace, and then I always just leaned towards those when I was a kid because they were an easier watch. And then the original trilogy was something I appreciated just the older I got for the quality of the story and the characters versus how it visually looked. I'm gonna be very curious to see in hand this compared to Vader from Kenobi, because I have that pre-ordered as well. That in the Obi-Wan. As of now, I'm kind of really thinking it's Vader from Kenobi that's gonna take the cake for me.
And that's actually why I asked. So I don't have a Vader in my collection yet, surprisingly, because it's easily one of my favorite characters of all time. And when they when they announced the Kenobi pre-order version, I was like, okay, that is really cool. The sliced mask, seeing the young Anakin sculpt underneath, but all messed up, and then just his presence in the Obi-Wan show. While I didn't absolutely love the Obi-Wan show, it wasn't my favorite. The scenes with Vader, I think, were some of the best parts of that show, right?
Yes.
And so when they gave us a figure offering, it was like, ooh, okay. When I think about Star Wars, I think of, Empire Strikes Back, but I also do think of the scene that features Vader with his mask off like this. Now, he's obviously not standing there with his lightsaber adorned because he's laying on the ground. But when you first see this head sculpt, you realize that the ominous presence that Vader had all throughout the first three movies, that scary nature, that again, ominous presence, washes away a little bit when his helmet comes off and you see that he's a sick, old, dying man who's been taken advantage of by the Emperor. And he wants to see his son for the first time with his own eyes, which is really touching. But again, you get to see just this other side of Vader that you never got to see before. And he goes through that emotional catharsis right before he dies. And to me, I would have said in the past that as much as I like the Kenobi Vader, and that's the one I think I want to have in my collection, I would have said the Empire Strikes Back version would have been the most iconic, because that's when, the bad guy wins, kind of like Infinity War. That's when the bad guy wins. That's when people shit their pants in the theaters back in the day and we're like, oh my God, what's going to happen to our heroes now, right? And what's going to happen with Vader and the I am your father line. Like, when you think of Star Wars, like, people who don't even like Star Wars can tell you those lines, right? But this is still a very iconic scene. But is it the most definitive, Dean? What are your thoughts in terms of this offering versus definitive options?
Oh, definitive Vader? This is probably the one to get. Not only can you display him with the helmet, then you could also have it without the helmet. So you got, a couple of display options. It's also, Sebastian Shaw, so it's OT. I mean, I like Hayden Christensen and all, but it's not the same. It just isn't. So yeah, I think if you're looking for a definitive Vader to get, this is probably it. I already have a Vader that I'm happy with, that it kind of suits my purposes. I started with a Sideshow Deluxe Vader, which, it has its issues, but I was fine with those issues. And any problems I had with it, I fixed it. I bought a new undersuit, I changed the cape and the robe, different helmet. But if I want a Sebastian Shaw, sculpt, it has it, it came included. But the Kenobi one, the battle damage, that's also very badass. But, that show's also very lackluster. But if you needed that Vader, you could fit him on a shelf with Ahsoka, if you wanted like a Rebels. If you were a big fan of like Star Wars The Force Unleashed, that could look very cool too if you have
Definitely.
a Star Killer on your shelf.
Definitely.
So that Vader definitely has its places, but I feel like if you were only gonna pick one Vader to have, this is the one.
Oh, I'm so torn because I've already got my pre-order locked in for Kenobi. So and then this one comes out, and I'm like,
I'm getting both.
right? But do I need two Vaders? Like, I mean, I know some people like Big Dog Pounder saying get all Vaders, but to me, I can't justify having that many slots taken up in the collection room.
Yeah.
Even two would be a little tricky unless I had a Vader display where it was like, maybe you have a Padawan Anakin, you then have a dark side Anakin, then you have the Kenobi Anakin with the Vader mask broken, and then you have the Sebastian Shaw, that like a four piece.
lineage.
That could be that could be cool. But I'm like, if I stood both of these side by side, I would definitely then display him with this head sculpt on for this version, and I would display the Vader broken helmet maybe on the Kenobi one. But Pete, we were talking a little bit about material early as well, and I know one of the big complaints with this Vader specifically is that they're back to pleather. Like, why not give us genuine leather at this point? Would you spend more money for this figure if it was genuine leather, or does that not necessarily make a difference? I know England and Europe is a wet place a lot of the time, and humidity is definitely a factor you have to consider. Would you have spent more for this if they'd upgraded us or not?
No, I've never had any problems with pleather really, barring the fairly normal problems with the DX05 Indy with all the straps and stuff going on that happens anywhere. But to be honest, I've got two Vaders. I've got the New Hope Vader, the Rogue One. I've not had any issues with them at all. We don't have the heat, humidity, that maybe in Asia or somewhere like that, where that tends to be where a lot of the pleather rotting kind of tends to take place. I think if it was real leather, you'd be looking at a massive hike in price.
Cost difference.
And I've seen custom ones that people are doing, and you're talking hundreds of dollars. I'm quite happy with the pleather. I would always welcome leather goods if offered, but I just know how much that would affect the price. I bought enough real leather indie jackets in my time to know how expensive that shit is.
That's fair.
So I'm quite happy with the pleather, but obviously if you live in a climate where it's going to be a problem, then obviously it might be a deal breaker for you.
Yeah, I hear what you're saying. I guess it's hard to envision what the cost hike could look like. I know that obviously the new Wolverine or Logan figure is coming out with a leather jacket on, but that's a jacket versus like a whole developed figure. I've heard guys like Mario in the community saying some of his Vaders are starting to fall apart with the outfit and stuff, and like that. I get it. These are still collectible figures. They're not necessarily meant to last forever. But even 10 years with a figure is kind of like, that goes by pretty quick. I've had my DX12 Batman for almost 10 years, and it's in fantastic condition. I'd be so disheartened if I walked up to the shelf and it was, decaying by itself, just standing there. And these are still not cheap figures, as we were talking about earlier. The cost is still quite high. So it'll be interesting to see. I will update you guys on future Let's Get Nuts episodes as to what one I've definitely got, or if I've decided to get both. Right now I'm leaning towards both, but we'll see.
I'm getting both.
We do it. You guys are in your place. You'll have to see it. Last topic of the evening, and then we'll wrap it up here tonight, guys. I want to do a really quick round table. Obviously, Return of the Jedi 40th anniversary is upon us. Part of the reason we're getting these other figures we just looked at. In terms of figure collecting, and I want to hear from the chat as well. Dean, I'll start with you. What would you say is a figure you'd still really like to see from the 40th anniversary of Return of the Jedi that we either haven't gotten yet or you're hoping really does come? What would you like to see in your collection from this film?
An Akbar would be pretty dope. That'd be pretty sweet. We've already gotten Leia, Luke, Vader now. A new Han would be sweet. I mean, everyone wants Empire Han, but I don't know. Han would be cool. We've already gotten so many Boba Fett's. The Return of the Jedi Boba Fett is kind of old at this point, so a 2.0 wouldn't be the worst thing in the world. That's kind of I mean, they already have the head sculpt for Lando, so like a Lando in the Han clothes would be kind of cool.
That could be cool. Yeah, 100%. What about you, Pete? What are you hoping we see still from the 40th anniversary line, or is this it? Have they already given us everything they're going to give us?
Well, quite possibly, but no, I think there'll
Right.
definitely be a reissue of the Emperor because we've seen him, and that's an easy one. Maybe they've done the Royal Guards, all sorts of things. I would like to see Akbar would be cool. I would like a Boosh, however you want to say it. That would be cool because I've looked at the sideshow one many times, and obviously that can be made to look quite decent with some work, and if you put a Hot Toys head sculpt on it and stuff like that. So that would be, and I think I've got every Hot Toys layer apart from the Bespin dress one. So
Yeah.
I do like to collect layers, so yeah, I would definitely go with the Bausch. For the rest of them, yeah, I don't really have the space. To be honest, the sideshow Skiff Lando is a great figure. If you've got the helmet on, you don't notice the sculpt isn't great. That's a really good figure. So I don't think they'll go there. General Lando would be cool. Be cool if they did Gamorrean Guards. Because I have got a sideshow one, and I spent a lot of money on it, and it took me a long time to get one.
They
are
pricey,
really good.
boys.
Yeah, and I don't regret buying it, but I think that would be one that people would pay money for, definitely.
Do you think a Jabba is a possibility, even like a power pose? I know the one on Sideshow I think still floats around for the Sideshow version, but
Yeah,
possibility?
possibly, yeah.
It'd be so big, eh? I guess in terms of the collection space, it would be a big boy.
I wouldn't have space for him, but yeah, I'm not sure. They very much seem to steer away from stuff that Sideshow have done already, don't they? But
I would say unless they do it like limited, right? If they gave us like 1,500 worldwide, like they just did with that Mark 7, right? Like I could still see people wanting that collectability in the collection. But
just while we're on this subject, Dean, have you got the Jabba's sail barge? Have you got that in your collection?
No, I wish, dude.
It's amazing. I saw it at Celebration. I couldn't believe how huge it was. It was stunning. Brilliant. Loved it.
it's very cool.
Those bastards put it behind the paywall.
Yeah, I know your feelings on that. Yep.
I might have to relent and get on this next one if it is what they say it's going to be. I'm not happy about it.
What are they talking about? What's the rumor on that then?
The ghost from Rebels.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah.
Interesting.
So.
Austin, same question for you, buddy.
Selfishly, Han and Chewie 2-pack.
Yeah,
Just 'cause I don't have those
That's valid.
in the collection. That or Palpatine, like that'd be like my top choices for sure.
For sure. I would love to see Return of the Jedi Luke and R2-D2 2-pack, just because I don't have an R2-D2. And obviously there's a lot of collectors out there that, they don't want to necessarily mix films up. We've got this Return of the Jedi C-3PO. I feel like he needs his companion piece, and that would be a 2-pack that I would be all over, because I do have Farm Boy Luke, but I'd like to get a Luke that's a little older, a little more seasoned as well. And I didn't love the deep fake Mando Luke as much as some folks out there. So, Little Ewok, that's a good one.
They have Return of the Jedi Luke already.
They do, but it's pretty old school now at this point. I'd like to see an update. I would like to see an update. Yeah, is it only 2 years? No, it's got to be older than 2 years.
No, it came out right before.
It was before pandemic times.
Yeah.
Is it really? Because they re-released it twice.
But yeah.
You're not wrong. I just missed it entirely, and now on the secondary Canadian market, it's like it's extremely expensive.
Is it? I just picked one up for $200.
Oh yeah.
Keep your eye out. It's really good if you stick one of the Jedi hair on it. It's the hair that really ruins that. I picked one up just for the head sculpts, and it looks great with the Endor helmet on.
Absolutely. Guys, next week I'm going to cut one subject off because we're getting a little long today. Next week let's talk a little bit about Mando, this recent season, because this last episode they gave us for a lot of folks has given some redeeming qualities, and we got some collectible possibilities out of that episode. I'd really like to revisit that subject though after the final episode this coming week, because I do think it could be really good, but it's hard to know if a whole show can be redeemed within 2 episodes. So we will revisit that on the Let's Get Nuts show next Sunday. Same time slot. I want to bring it to you first, Austin. It's your first time on Let's Get Nuts, the Ben Thomas show. Thanks for joining, buddy. I definitely appreciate it. What do you got coming up for you, good sir, and where can people find you?
Yeah, I'm on Instagram and YouTube. YouTube now, newly. Austin_Nicholas_. For YouTube, I'll have a celebration recap later this week on there. Just a lot of behind the scenes of hanging out with like Shane, Lael, the entire group, what we did at Celebration, and then a lot of shorts to come to the YouTube channel. And then on my Instagram page, just a bunch of new figures.
Awesome, dude. Awesome. Stay tuned for Austin. He's an up-and-comer for sure, but really good person. What you see here is absolutely what you get, which I appreciate. Those are the folks that I want to bring onto the show. Same goes out there to all of you folks who are always watching. I know sometimes it's fun to just be in the chat, but if you're ever interested in jumping on a webcam and joining us for a show, let me know privately, and we can chat about that. Pete, I saw your recap with Shane 16 Focus the other day, as well as your companion from Collecting Weekly or OFAC, Ian.
Yep.
What else do you got coming up? Where can people find you, good sir? What's going on?
So we're back on again this Thursday. It seems really weird because we've done like 3 weeks in a row. We normally do every other week, but obviously we threw in an extra one for Celebration last week, as it was paid for by the Collecting Weekly Patreonies. So we needed to get that out as a kind of a thanks to them. So basically, find us every other Thursday. 8:30 p.m. UK time. I believe that'll be sometime in the afternoon for you guys.
2 p.m. Central Time.
Yeah. So we are, obviously our audience is like live audience is mainly sort of British European, but I think we get a lot of watches on the replay and stuff. So catch us on Thursday night. We'll just be back to our normal kind of show.
Cool. And you recently interviewed Andy from Iconic, correct?
Yes.
Regarding the new Street Fighter figure. What's his name? I forget now. Ken. Thank you. That was a cool episode. Yeah. So if anybody's interested in that figure and they want to kind of get the insight from the developer, Andy, really good guy over there, collector himself. It's cool that he makes a presence in the community as well. And the figures, like the Ryu, has been absolutely fantastically reviewed. So check out OFAC for that episode specifically, because it was a really good interview.
Episode 90, that one. Yeah,
absolutely. And then Mr. Dean, Collecting Weekly, The Dream. Thank you, buddy, for being here today. I thought for a while there you might be the only one who could come. Always better than talking to myself for an hour here. But you're one of my best buddies. I always enjoy your presence. Obviously, I'm going to see you here on Tuesday night on the Collecting Weekly main show. But you told us a little bit about what you got coming up tomorrow night, so dive in a little more.
Tomorrow we're doing unboxings. I got my Prime 1 Studio Punchline 3rd scale statue. So I got it on Friday, and I've just been fucking looking at it like I want to unbox it so bad. So that'll be tomorrow. I waited this long. I can wait a couple more days. So
good for you, man. I'm really excited to see that.
The main show Wednesday after dark. Thursday, Ian and Pete, are you guys going back on Thursday?
We are. Yep.
Cool.
Thursday, yep.
Friday, Collectors Club, statues, more statue news. And then Saturday, I think we're doing like a Discord hangout. I think I'd have to get with Zach on that. But yeah, whole week of content coming up for you guys.
Cool. And your videos recently of playing gaming with Zach has been really funny. I don't know what you call those episodes. I can't remember now. But
I call Ox PD.
Ox PD.
What are we
Red
called?
Dead.
The Red Dead ones?
Yeah, I forget now.
Let's Be Cowboys or something? Yeah, it's,
Those are some of the funniest content I listen to. I was just gaming the other day listening to you guys do Ox PD, and like obviously knowing you guys, it amps up the funniness even that much more. But like it's really really good content. so check that out for sure. For me here, Ben Thomas Show, I've got a couple more unboxings that I'm hoping to get up on the channel here this week. I've got some smaller scale toys that I want to review. As I said earlier, I just put up a video for my Punisher figure yesterday. Really like that figure, so if you missed that review, check it out. It's really cool. And then this slot seems to be working for a lot of folks, so every Sunday going forward, I've got a good show sheet chat open if you guys want to join. I'm looking at you, 1/6 scale man. If you're still in the chat there, buddy, you got to get on the show with us at some point as well. But anybody is welcome. As I said, it's open forum. So Sundays at 3 p.m. Mountain Standard Time every week, I'll post on my Instagram and YouTube what the time zones are, so not to get confused for anybody. But I really wanted to say thank you to everybody in the chat for watching again today. Today was a really long episode and a really fun one. I love chatting with you guys week over week. Austin, you're always welcome back, buddy. Dean,
I appreciate
you're
it.
beautiful. You're a beautiful man. I love you, buddy. And Pete, as always, my longest running co-host already so far. I can't even call. I got to call you a co-host because you've been here every week. So I'm gonna have to start paying you some of the royalties on those super chats that are coming through. I got to be careful about that. So
exactly.
But we will go from there, guys. It's been another Sunday. Let's Get Nuts show. Thanks for watching. We will talk to you guys on the next one.